Oh my God. Ay, ay, ay. Again, why are you defending Liberty University? You are defending Liberty University, okay? That's what you're doing. You're defending a university who literally straight up marketed not prosecuting date that takes place on their college campus. And I'm saying, look, if these guys are going to be cordoned off to a place where it's self-selecting, then yeah, it's better off that they do that. Daniel Denver, he's the man. He wrote an article about me in The Nation as well. And he was arguing about my position. We'll obviously get started on that. Clearly, that's a huge deal. Clearly, closed presents with 100 bones. God damn. Yeah, I'll do the Daniel Denver story as well. That's definitely on the docket. We have a lot to talk about, folks. Okay, we have a lot to talk about. Canary Mission is unmasked, which is awesome. My grandma wants her Sunday church outfit back. Please stop wearing it on stream and return it. Okay, that's really messed up because me and your grandma have been dating and she lets me wear her clothes. So I don't know why you take issue with that, but like clearly your grandmother does not. This is for all the guys out there who've had their hoodies stolen, okay? Sometimes you got to steal back, okay? Sometimes you got to steal back. Yeah, me and your grandma, we bump uglies, okay? We bump uglies. And then once we're done bumping uglies, I take her clothes and I wear them. That's right. I had to come straight from your grandma's house to the broadcast, and I didn't have a fresh change of clothes, so I wore her shit. And she likes it. She watches on the TV and she goes, "That's my handsome. That's my handsome right there." That's what she says. She points to the TV. She goes, "See, Hank? He hit me last night." That's what she says at bingo night, dude. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Taking the teeth out and everything. She gets wild with it. We got to get you outside more? No, I'm good. I'm good with the amount of outside time that I have. All right, we can't be watching this so close to me making these jokes, okay? I'm sorry, chatter. Try again later, okay? Anyway, if these comments keep you out of the news cycle, then I'm happy. No, the problem is we've officially reached like peak HasanAbi derangement syndrome, which means that everything that I say on this broadcast as a joke will be used against me, against everyone, against your grandmas, okay, against everybody. Like anything that I say on any podcast appearance or on this broadcast will and can be used against me. It's official. We are now full-blown in HasanAbi derangement syndrome in mainstream news. We went from HasanAbi derangement syndrome in like the commentary sphere, and right as the commentary sphere had started shifting in the way that they perceive me, okay, we moved on. Right as the commentary sphere was like, yeah, maybe this guy's not the evil psycho that we presented him as. We turned around, and now the entirety of the mainstream is doing it. This is from the National Review, by the way. Hassan Piker is the enemy. So yeah, Sarah Longwell Efford posts about how she's offended by your evil grandmother problematic age gap coverage. Yeah. But we got it. We got it. It turns out I thought the discourse was over. I thought the culture war around my position as the spokesperson for the Democratic Party was done. It turns out there's new life that was pushed in to the conversation. Matt Iglesias, who is always wrong, has also weighed in on the discourse as well. Everyone is weighing in on the what do we do with HasanAbi discourse. Obviously, there's a this is a disciplining operation. That's what it is, and it should be seen as that. Okay. I did the New York Times podcast. We talked for like an hour plus. The rich don't play by the rules, so why should I? From the New York Times Opinions podcast. Now, this only got 5,000 views. However, in spite of the only the 5,000 modest views that it got, it has created discourse to the tune of 5 million views. Okay. You're the Sydney Sweeney of the left? No. I mean, there's a difference between, I think, the space I occupy and Sydney Sweeney. Let's be real. I've listened to you every day for the past 4 years, and I don't think about you as much as mainstream media does lately. Yeah. The original upload got deleted, so that's probably part of it. Oh, okay. I like your cardigan. Where did you get it? You don't want to know where I got this cardigan from. It's a Chatter's grandmother that I'm dating. I've been dating one of your grandmas, and she gave it to me after we bumped uglies. Okay. I watched it on the New York Times website. Maybe more did too. I don't know. But in any case, yeah, rest in peace to grandma. She got hit with a bazooka. And by that, I mean my penis. My penis is the bazooka in this situation. Yeah. Okay. It's not a big deal, but please call her back. I mean, I belong to the streets, Chatter, so I don't know if that'll happen, but you know, I gotta stop. I have to stop. Chris Rabb has decided to do a event that is a rally. For the record, don't know where that came from. Don't know what's going on there, but I guess he wants to do a rally. And got to talk to them about that. Didn't know that that's what we were doing, but breaking from CNN, Hasan Piker will date your grandmother and steal your inheritance. True. Pragmata, your grandma, is true. Trump scheduled to address international media at 3 p.m. today. Great. Yeah. So we're going to get started on the saga that took place when I dared do another the New York Times Opinions podcast. And I had some takes on the ethics of theft, whether I care for it or not. I cracked some jokes, which was, of course, unacceptable. BDBD reacted to your interview with Jeffrey Sachs and your opinions on China. John J. Mersheimer belongs in the offensive realism school. What school does Sachs belong to? Oh my, gradually approaching academic art. Neither of these two is pro-China, right? Jeffrey Sachs has always been neutral globalist. What he opposes is hegemonic order. As for Hasan, he's left-wing. He's even more anti-imperialism. It's just that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Strictly speaking, Jeffrey cannot be solely classified as pro-China, given that his primary research and stances are also concentrated on traditional anti-American blocs such as Russia, Iran, and Cuba. As for Hasan, due to his ideological and systemic affinities, he can be considered entirely pro-China. Where are the pro-China folks? Only rationalists here. Dream collaboration. Saxon is not pro-China. He is anti-American. That means Jeffrey Sachs. Professor Sachs can indeed be considered pro-China. Of course, he certainly can't compare to us Chinese ourselves. Moreover, if someone completely abandons our own country and blindly pro-China, it would actually make people look down on them. If the Yanks take Israel to task and force Israel to cease fire, let the Yanks through the two-state solution, then exert pressure on Iran by blockading the Strait of Hormuz to force them into a dictated peace instead of recklessly striking Iran as they do now. TLDR, conservatives think the radicals are too conservative. That was Chinese netizens react to two Sinophiles talking about China. This is killing me. Is the beef between Chinese and Japanese really this strong? Bro said, fuck crying about interracial relationships. We got real to focus on. A heartwarming moment in Beijing's Sanlitun where love knows no borders. Who cares? The divine mission of all Han Chinese men is to participate in the final battle against Japan. Until that is accomplished, black men can accompany Chinese women however they want. What the? That's amazing. Yeah, see, there is something that's more powerful than anti-blackness, which is sometimes seen as like a universal principle, right? Especially in a Western design, a Western hegemonic design of the world. Obviously, one of the number one ops has always been black folk in order to justify chattel slavery in the minds of the Western Empire. But it turns out there are certain places on the planet where something takes a stronger priority than anti-blackness, it seems. And that is, that's China. Wait, did I blast off at all? Did I even start? Oh, I didn't. All right, let's get to it. Let's blast off before I get into it. I haven't even done that yet. It's crazy. So much going on in the world that I forgot to blast off. Okay. We got New York Times drama. New York Times podcast drama breathes new life to Hasan derangement syndrome discourse. Sugar Baby and DHS, Votorama on ice, Trump orders kills on RGC Navy, your rage on Chad Vice. Later, get in now. Fox and Friends covered it too. Dude, every day that goes by that I go viral over and over again is another day that I'm closer and closer to Donald Trump finally doing a true social on me and then someone just assassinating me in the street, you know? Every day that goes by is a day that we are closer to that end. I hope it doesn't happen, but I do worry about that for sure. Trump definitely knows who you are. I hope not. I hope my goat doesn't know who I am, you know? My goat, Donald Trump. Anyway, New York Times podcast drama breathes new life to Hasan derangement syndrome discourse, Sugar Baby and DHS, Votorama on ice, Trump orders kill on IRGC Navy, your rage on Chad Vice later, get in now. If that happens, can I have Kaya? No, get in line. Mods, HasanAbi spamming? Yes, of course I'm spamming. You know why I'm spamming. I want you to also tell the people that you know and love to get into the broadcast. Live and alive, baby. Get a Pope mobile? True. Anyway, here it is.
Occasions I was like, I'm just going to go back, grab those 4 lemons and
I'll
get
be
the hell
back
out.
in 1 second.
You should go to prison.
I know. You think they're going to ban me?
They should throw you in jail.
See? I was being serious.
I didn't feel bad about it at all.
I'm proposing a new term, microl-looting.
I started going into the grocery store, I would pick up the thing that I wanted, and then I would go.
It's a survival technique. Gotta eat to live, gotta steal to eat.
You're paying for that, right?
No, babe, food is a human right.
People are taking small things from big corporations, and they're feeling justified.
Like, look, everyone's shoplifting from Whole Foods when you're shopping there.
You're not gonna steal from a deli like that. But Whole Foods, fuck Whole Foods. Fuck Bezos, fuck Amazon, all that.
We should be rioting, but we're tired, so I'm gonna take these bagels.
But is it a slippery slope? What's going on with our moral code? To find out, I'm talking to political commentator Hasan Piker and New Yorker writer Gia Tolentino. Thank you both so much for being here with me today to talk about this. Hi, Gia.
Hi.
Hi, Hasan.
Hi.
I want to start with a little exercise just about our own morals. Would you share your Netflix password?
I do.
I also do. Well,
With anyone.
For the longest time, I actually had someone else's Netflix password. That was my primary access to Netflix.
And now you share your own?
Yeah.
Would you get around a paywall on an article you're trying to read?
Do it every day on my stream.
Yes, and
day.
I support it when people do it for my own work. I say, go off. Use the Wayback Machine.
Would you pirate music from an indie band?
Is it 2005 and I'm using LimeWire? Because yes.
I feel like every millennial has at some point done this.
I feel like fundamentally Spotify is kind of like deleterious to the musician livelihood.
I think the Mangione part of the interview made sense and was totally unobjectionable if you think at all. The shoplifting stuff did confuse me though. Like the written version made it sound like you guys were saying shoplifting is a revolutionary form of protest, but I don't think you would say something like that. So it was probably lost in the transcription. No, I literally talk about how it's I mean, I don't know what ended up making its way to the final product, but I just straight up was like, I think this stuff is ridiculous. Like, I don't think this is, it's almost self-serving to assume. Actually, we both agreed on this, where we said like it's self-serving to assume that this is like some kind of revolutionary action. The real thing that you should be doing is like salting every grocery store possible. But I'm pretty sure that didn't that make it to the final point, like the final transcript?
I use that, but then I go to the shows.
Yeah, no, I'm pro piracy all the way, like across the board. Would you pirate a car? Yes. You know, if you could, if one could
pirate a car,
it was just a classic thing back in the day. The government funded anti-piracy initiatives would be like, dude, would you steal a car? I'm like, yeah, sure. If I could get away with it, if it was as easy as you know, pirating IP, I would do it. Yeah.
Would you dine and dash from your local diner?
Never. Tip 35%. Mike's, come on.
No, I wouldn't do that. And if I saw somebody doing that, I'd probably pay for their meal.
Yeah. Would you steal a book from the library?
Never.
No.
Would you steal from the Louvre?
Yes.
I would not be logistically capable of executing such a fact, but would I cheer on every news story of people that I see doing it? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's cool. We gotta get back to cool crimes like that. Like, bank robberies, right? Stealing priceless artifacts, things of that nature. I feel like that's way cooler than the 7,000th new cryptocurrency scheme that people are engaging in.
Like, this was endlessly discussed. It's so obvious that I'm fucking joking. It is unbelievable how much discourse that moment invoked, okay? How much discourse that created. People are literally like, dude, the Louvre is like owned by the French government. It's like, it's for everyone. How dare you? It's all this shit. And it's like, yeah, I'm not being serious, man. The fuck is wrong with y'all? Yeah, Democratic spokesman Hasan Piker supports all sorts of crime as a form of protest. It's crazy. How is this possible? Dude, to be fair, I've been watching for a long time and your sarcasm is very dry. I mean, what is this conversation? Maybe I'm the crazy one. Maybe it is me. Maybe it is my autism and not the autism of others. But like, isn't it pretty obvious what I'm saying there? Am I crazy? Is society crazy or am I crazy? It's like very obviously very obviously not serious. Çok şişman çıkmışsın lan beard. Amına sikeyim. Bir hafta. Ananı sikeyim senin. No, you are not. They will find something to write about it even if they didn't have this. They're acting like you're Lupin the Third. I mean, this
is art bank rob. Yeah, I think it's cool. We gotta get back to cool crimes like that, like bank robberies, right? Stealing priceless artifacts, things of that nature. I feel like that's way cooler than the 7,000th new cryptocurrency scheme that people
like. What are we doing? Like, what the fuck? I don't get it. Please explain the joke to me. I'm a centrist Democrat and hate humor. Okay, you guys need to stop. Don't even joke right now. I'm being super honest. Is there something going on? Is there something going on with me? Am I the one who is at fault here? Is it just like my dry autistic delivery that causes people to take things that I'm saying super seriously? Like I'm making like everything that I'm delivering is a socialist hadith, okay? I'm the socialist Ayatollah, and every word that comes out of my mouth, these motherfuckers, these centrists and the right-wingers, they treat it like I'm the socialist Ayatollah. I'm the Ayatollah of woke socialism, and I'm delivering another hadith, a fatwa. I'm delivering a fatwa. Everyone needs to interpret everything I'm saying super seriously. To that, I always have to go back to and say,
legalize comedy.
What the hell? I can't tell if it's like a cynical, weaponized misunderstanding or if there's like genuinely a lot of people that maybe see people twisting my words and making that come across as sincere, and then they get confused. They're like, what the fuck's this guy about? This guy's about murdering everyone and also stealing. He's for stealing everything. I don't get it.
Are engaging in.
Mm-hmm. Would you steal from Whole Foods?
You want to go first?
Yes. And I have under very specific circumstances. I think that stealing from a big box store, I'll just state my platform. Mm-hmm. It's neither very significant as a moral wrong, nor is it significant in any way as protest or direct action. But I did steal from Whole Foods on several occasions, like I've been involved in like a neighborhood mutual aid group since 2021. And so every week I would go get groceries for Miss Nancy, my now family friend who lived nearby, and she wanted to go to Whole Foods. She wanted food from Whole Foods. So I was like, okay.
You're not at fault at all, in my opinion. I think people have an automatic assumption that people in the political sphere are always 100% serious and sincere. They have no frame of reference for a political entertainer being in the mainstream like you currently are. Yeah, if I'm being serious, I'm being serious. I'll be serious when I have to, right? But then I'll also fucking make jokes. God damn, dude. We can't have any laughter in this life. It's crazy. People are out here straight up saying, like, if you are, jokes are immoral, okay? Jokes are bourgeois decadence. If you crack a joke at any point in your life, you must be shot and killed. It's crazy. Jokes are counter-revolutionary. Jokes are bourgeois morality. It's immoral. It's completely unacceptable. Anytime you say anything, I'm gonna take it sincerely. I'm going to treat it like it's the most serious thing you've ever said. You want to steal from the Louvre? You're gonna steal from the Louvre. You might have even already stolen from the Louvre, right?
Great. And so I'd be getting Miss Nancy all her groceries, and then I would finish and I'd be like, oh my God, 4 lemons. I forgot 4 lemons. And on several occasions, I was like, I'm just gonna go back, grab those 4 lemons and get the hell out. And
you should go to prison.
I know. You think they're gonna ban me?
They should.
See, am I being sincere, you think? Guys, I read the transcript. He clearly wants to send this author to jail.
They should throw you in jail.
But I didn't feel bad about it at all.
And was part of it because of how you feel about Whole Foods as a corporation?
Yeah, it already felt like a bit of a compromise. Like at the time, I was like, I had not been to Whole Foods. I had a bit more sort of consumer discipline about where I was spending my money then, and I already felt like I was in the hole even by shopping there, and it certainly felt in a utilitarian sense. I was like, this is not a big deal.
Well,
right, guys?
I'm pro stealing from big corporations because they steal quite a bit more from their own workers. However, one thing that might even help your ethical dilemma is the fact that the automated process that they design, these companies know will increase shrink, right? So it's actually factored in. The lemons that you stole are factored into the bottom line of these mega corporations regardless, and they still end up having increased profit margins because they no longer have to pay the cashiers that they used to hire, as opposed to this automated system, knowing full well that people are still going to be able to still steal a lot more efficiently, as a matter of fact, through the automated process.
Totally. Well, I was looking things up, and shrinkage is roughly equal internally as externally. Like,
you don't realize is that they did take that joke seriously as well. They don't have a problem with throwing shoplifters in prison. Yeah, I don't really give a shit, I don't really give a shit about people stealing from big corporations. Like, people make it seem like this is the most consequential ethical dilemma. I feel like there's bigger problems that we just don't address. My argument here is just saying, like, I don't do it, and I talk about it in a little bit, like, or I was like, I can't do it. I can't steal it all. There's no way that I can do it. Personally, I just don't care all that much. I feel like there are larger systemic problems at play here. Most of the conversation that we have revolves around the social contract tearing apart, right? Like, I am invested in systemic analysis and offering criticism to everyday systems of violence, structural forms of violence like poverty, and how that has caused people to react the way that they do, right? Because, like, theft is ripping apart the social contract, and it happens as a consequence of the social contract being ripped apart. So I see, forms of violence and things like that happen. I wrote about this on the New York Times, ironically enough, in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination. But like, these kinds of violent actions are born out of the unlimited violence that we dish out, our culture of ultra violence, but then also they happen. They take place more common, I can't even fucking talk. They happen all the goddamn time because people are losing their minds, because people are just like, this shit doesn't work anymore. They have less of an investment in American prosperity. They have no investment whatsoever. They're not bought into the system.
They expect it from their employees that they are sort of disenfranchising constantly.
Yeah. But what about the argument that if everyone just starts stealing wantonly from these self-checkout machines, Whole Foods will eventually raise the prices?
Yeah, chaos, full chaos. Let's go. I mean, look, I'm in favor of fast and free buses, and also government owned storefronts. And, two of those policies, the mayor of this beautiful city is currently working on.
Would you encourage stealing in the same way from a Mamdani-run city-owned?
I don't really care either, but I always think it's silly when people characterize it as a principle, or justify it as, oh, they're robbing us with these prices. Like, you just don't want to pay, that's fine, but let's dispense with this framing. Antisocial actions like shoplifting are not paying for the train as a moral act. I don't think you're doing that, though. Yeah, I'm not. I very clearly am talking about, all of this stuff is irrelevant, and people have less of a buy-in to the system when the system is not fucking creating an environment of stability. That's it. Like, because here is the framework, right? The rich don't play by the rules, so why should I? My point is, the rich don't play by the rules. We should focus on that. That's always my point, right? And people only focus on the why should I part. And it's like, I personally follow the rules. I'm always following the fucking rules. I mean, there are certain instances where I think the rules are silly and stupid, like IP, patents, whatever. But for the most part, I follow the rules. I can't break the rules. I can't violate them at all, okay? But again, regardless, I'm not going to spend a good deal of time talking about the rule breakers when they're just like regular folk, when they're ordinary folk. Because the real problem is the rule breakers that are writing the fucking rules. And this entire conversation is me trying to bring the conversation back to that.
Grocery store with lower prices? And why?
I would not. Because I feel like that's taxpayer funded, and the prices are this union labor, and the prices are also adjusted regardless.
I think that hypothetical is interesting, right? Because if you look at it from a categorical imperative type thing, what if everybody did this? The converse is like, oh, what if every major grocery chain stole from workers and consumers? And that is basically true, right? Like, it's interesting. Like, I think it speaks to the thing where a kind of harm committed by the individual strangely continually draws more ire than the same harm being committed by a structure. And so, I kind of am inclined towards this. It's like, everyone try it, see what happens.
Yeah. Well, by the way, ironically enough, I don't personally do it. I never do it. When I was younger, I stole some Pokemon cards from a friend, and my father punished me. And it was such a harrowing experience that I literally can't even steal like a candy bar. When we were in college, a lot of my friends used to love doing that. Getting drunk, going to the gas station, 5-finger discount. I would never participate in it, and I still can't to this day participate in it. I'm just saying that I personally don't really care. If someone needs the food, they should absolutely steal it.
There's one thing that's like stealing when you're a teenager and you want the adrenaline rush, and part of it is about testing the rules and getting away with something. But I feel like what I'm seeing on TikTok and social media is people saying that they're stealing from Whole Foods, not just for the thrill.
I saw someone also participating in this discourse and being like, Hasan is telling poor black people to go and steal so they go to prison. And I was like, I'm checking out of this. Unbelievable. That is the maximalist version of like, I say I like pancakes, you say I hate waffles, and you should be going to prison for your take. That was the most insane version of that. I saw a piece of that on TikTok. I do appreciate it because it reminds me, it harkens back to like the Tumblr ultra woke discourse. That's like a woke 1.0 relic. But, excellent stuff regardless. Central Committee, thank you for the raid. Hope you had a good stream, brother. Very interesting times that we are alive currently. Anyway, let's continue.
But out of a feeling of anger and moral justification, because the rich don't play by the rules. So why should I? And Jeff Bezos has too much money. He's a billionaire. So why should I have to pay for organic avocados? My friends and I have started calling this micro-looting because it has a slight political valence to the theft as opposed to just the thrill of getting away with something. Have you noticed this around you online? Have you noticed more people talking about stealing in this way?
I mean, I have not seen people talking about micro-looting or such, whatever action that this is online. But I think, it kind of speaks to an attenuation of the tactical language of direct action. You know what I mean? Like, it's like if it's like, it doesn't work for me as a form of direct action because it's concealed, right? Like any successful direct action in history has to be ostentatious, has to make itself known, is ideally collective.
How does stealing get brought up and why is she asking so much about it? I don't know why I guess that's what they wanted to talk about, like micro-looting or something. I don't care.
And this is sort of necessarily individual and hidden. But I'm like, oh, great. Let's think of ways to, like, let's take this energy and let's move it into some other thing. Like, I think it's great that the valence of property is kind of on the table as something to be toyed with in terms of direct action. I feel like we've forgotten there is a long and storied history of sabotage and sort of engagement with property destruction even, which is abhorrent to people. I mean, you remember in 2020, the like Gucci, Chanel stuff.
I still cheese because it's too expensive and I am poor. What are you, a rat? Fucking ratatouille ass motherfucker. That's so funny. I mean, respect. All right, let's continue.
In Soho, when that was looted.
Well, NYPD is investigating a robbery pattern targeting high-end clothing boutiques in Soho. Latest happening Tuesday at the Chanel on Spring Street.
That looms so much larger in many sort of Bloomberg liberals' imaginations as profoundly more violent in some ways than the original action being protested, right? And I find that really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about the Boston Tea Party as part of like, that's a political destruction of property. And yet right now it feels like, I agree with you, the looting around the 2020 protests was such a huge talking point. It made people so uncomfortable. And I'm curious why, like, what do you think the root of that is?
I was thinking, you know, that thieves are actually quite highly valorized.
This feels like bait to make people hate the media and leftists. I mean, I don't think I gave any like super unreasonable answers here. I was just like, I don't really give a shit when people who need the food steal the food. Who fucking cares? And also, let's talk about the larger problem, which is our hyper focus on like property rights that we actually place a lot more emphasis on in our commodity fetishist culture, where we literally place the protection of private property and the interests of private property and the storefronts over the interests of human beings. Also, Majority Report, thank you for the raid. But it is precisely that. It is designed to make Matt Iglesias shudder.
In narrative, you know? I mean, Aladdin, famously.
Stop! Robin Hood, Jean
Hood,
Valjean.
right? Yeah. Jean Valjean.
Stole a loaf of bread.
We understand it's well within the collective consciousness that stealing for need or purpose, you know, it's something that we understand and feel quite friendly towards. And I think if someone were, let's say, walking out of Whole Foods with an IKEA bag of whatever and giving it to the people, you know, sheltering underneath the scaffold.
There's a line where if you talk about this for too long, it starts to look like a caricature of leftism, stuff you would find in a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, I guess.
At the jail going up in Brooklyn next door, you know, like, I think most people would agree that, you know, like if someone were to be stealing with a purpose, we love that in America. We do. We can love it again. Mm-hmm. We just have to do it with a purpose.
I was reading a Pew Research poll about Americans' morality, and it basically was just like, well, we didn't even ask about the obviously immoral things like theft. We only asked about like having an affair. And I like, part of what I'm seeing around me is that people feel like the laws are immoral. The rich don't play by the rules. We live in a society where there are billionaires, where the top 1% holds 32% of the net worth and the bottom 50% holds 2.5%. So at some point, if the laws don't feel moral, do you start to question your own sense of having to abide by them?
Of course.
Yeah. I wanted to work off of a point that you were making. This was also something that was addressed in a previous New York Times podcast that I did with Rouse Douthat, where I brought up the concept of adventurism. In the Marxist tradition, adventurism is the action that is oftentimes decentralized. Oftentimes anarchists will say this is the propaganda of the deed. The action itself, no matter how violent or how disruptive it is is justifiable because the disruption is the point. I believe in the power of organized labor and labor militancy and building these structures of power so that we can actually make more effective change, more longstanding change. So concepts such as micro-looting indicate that there is an energy there, just like you said, and yet many Americans, I think, are totally oblivious to this political language. They lack the political education. They lack the class consciousness to recognize their position in society, and lack the capacity, unfortunately, to engage in some kind of organized disruption that would be infinitely more effective.
I think what you
like, I feel, okay, serious question. That's the heart of my argument, right? I'm like, yeah, micro-looting is irrelevant, unnecessary. It's a breakdown of the social order that we have, and clearly there's an energy that people clearly there's a need here. There's an appetite for fighting back. But at the end of the day, it's infinitely less productive than it's infinitely less productive than like organized labor and labor militancy, right? People are just being done. What they see is the tax the rich shirt douchebag with just two women with valley accents. People view it as you're being out of touch without actually listening to what's being said. Damn, that was very rough, Miss Metafan. God damn, one of the OGs in this community coming in and cooking my ass so hard. You didn't something insanely complicated. People are just purposely misrepresenting it. I just think that I'm not doing a good enough job, clearly, as a communicator. If so many people are voluntarily, cynically or not, misunderstanding, and I don't know if we just say this is bad faith and move on. Some of it is bad faith, but clearly even the bad faith interpretations, when that's the only analysis that's first to market and it's so pervasive, it does, I think, cause other people in the margins who would otherwise understand what I'm talking about to misunderstand what I'm saying and also engage in this like bad faith interpretation. And they just like remember me as the guy who was a pro stealing and killing people, or I don't know, whatever the fuck people are saying. Now you are. There are limits to what you can say versus how someone can engage with your words. It's a matter of the times, a matter of the individual, a matter of worldview. I don't think many people who were upset by our language even watched this fucking video. Yeah.
We're saying about people lack the language and the organizing structure to engage in like the obvious thing to do if you want to chip into the Whole Foods / Amazon mega structure of exploitation is to unionize, like to.
Hasan's biggest issue when he speaks out about difficult topics with a ton of nuance, it's just not something modern internet culture is capable of handling. It's all about quick clips and assumptions. Substance is all out the window. Yes, but I like Hasan because he persists with this nuance, because that is how we should be. And people are smart enough to understand will actually listen instead of biting at clips. There's a lot of smart people. Yeah, I don't know. Hasan's biggest issue is he tries to talk about complex topics from a position of authority when he has neither the intelligence or experience to do so. Like, this is the type of person. This is the type of person that I always am trying to fucking understand. Yeah, Sam Adler Bell says, my contribution to Hasan discourse. I watched a lot of Nick Fuentes on Rumble while working on a piece. The odd thing is that Fuentes is not at all a typical streamer. He's doing a throwback thing, looking into camera, no live chat, just monologuing. Incel Walter Conkright, very impressive. I don't watch him, but I approve of Hasan Piker because I think it's really important for left-wingers to be handsome. And then he also followed up by saying, also regarding Hasan's statement on the UHC assassination, I said pretty much the same thing in my column and on Chris Hayes' show. Democrats aren't lining up to associate themselves with me, but nobody tried to cancel me. Yeah. Got to try harder, bud, to try to get canceled. Yeah, it's they're deliberately misunderstanding and misrepresenting. The only way you get them to stop is to become less moral than they are. The entire hate campaign is gaslighting you into doubting your communication skills. Centrists can't deplatform you, so they try to demoralize you. I mean, they're not going to succeed. They're not going to succeed. And not only that, but I also do think that this causes people, I think, to dig deep, to scratch the surface, and to go on their own personal journeys. Like, people will hear the concept of social murder and I explain it, right? In that short clip that was clipped to say Hasan loves when murder takes place. He's saying every wealthy person is murdering people by the dozens and all of the wealthy people should be killed, or whatever the fuck people are interpreting that I'm saying. But there will be some people that will go, wait a minute, what the fuck's this guy talking about? What is social murder? I never thought about that. I never thought about it like that. Let me take a look. Let me try to figure out what he was saying here, you know? Matty Boy wants to pontificate. Yeah, this is funny as well. Matt, you've seen 7 Hasan clips for a total of 2 minutes. Out of context, please shut the fuck up. I haven't seen any clips. I get my information from reading things. Buddy, the medium that I'm in is not and this means that everything that you've read about me is filtered through the lens of people who fucking despise me. Why the fuck do you think you're going to actually have a nuanced perspective on whatever I'm talking about? Of course you're going to be like, oh, this guy's the fucking idiot. Anyway, but that's Matt Iglesias, who is professionally wrong. So I don't mind his hatred. I welcome his hatred. This cancellation is let me introduce you to my normie friends and then being far more willing to hear you out because of how much they hate the people saying these things about you. Yeah, it's great. I've learned everything about this musician's music by reading them. Yeah. You were on the New York Times, the supposed pinnacle of analysis. Are you not allowed to be nuanced on the New York Times? You know, they just want a new reason to put out the negativity around you so they can use what they can. You know that? Stop playing dumb. No, I see that. I see why Matt Iglesias would say that because obviously it's much easier for him to do that rather than to sincerely take a look at what I'm saying and maybe identify with some of those points and try to address those points on its own without the negative filter that is slapped onto it that continues through the discourse circuit, right? Because it's much easier to be like, Hasan hates America and loves when people are murdered than to be like, Hasan is addressing the concept of social murder and offering analysis as to why the Gen Z, the generation that is, in abject poverty in comparison to like the fucking boomers in that same time frame when they were the age of Gen Z, and how what their response has been to the violation of the social contract and how little they fucking care about the future of this country. Like that is the analysis that I'm applying here.
Work at a Whole Foods and form a union. And I think the first one was formed recently in Philly, I think. But, it's like microl-looting. It feels akin to like a posting about something. Like it's a
kind of. Yeah, we're going to talk about this in a second as well.
As an atomized individual action, it's useless. It's much harder to get a job and accept $17.50 an hour and then to organize your colleagues, a process that takes years and is often unsuccessful. I mean, that's really, the thing about actual collective direct action, it's so much harder. And it often doesn't profit you whatsoever, such as, me getting an extra $10 by grabbing my extra loaf of bread from Miss Nancy. Like it's like, I do think we are also lazy as humans. We're also selfish. We also, we've lost not only the language and the union density and the structure to engage in things like this, but we have also lost the sort of muscle that is built up to be able to engage in these sort of things. We've lost the rooms in which these things are planned, Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the confidence. I think we've lost the confidence within ourselves because there is not a lot of action like this. And in the absence of that, we lack the willpower. Because we don't even know what that would look like.
And the climate protests in Europe tend to be a little more militant, right, than the ones that are here. And they are, blocking roadways, like these things that are even objectively completely nonviolent forms of obstruction and interference that don't even involve property destruction, but merely the interruption of the capital flow of the workday. Like,
someone give me the live broadcast for Fox News. Apparently they're talking big shit again. Let's hear. Dude, it's so funny. It is quite literally this right here is the straight news coverage. Okay? This is the second time today. Expect primetime host to follow suit later today. Yeah. That is crazy. That is actually crazy. The podcast has 5,000 views. You have 6x the viewers watching live right now. They are giving it more of a megaphone than it had on its own. I agree. You got so much motion. They're doing the Kaya shock slop on Fox fucking News. I know. I love the completely heinous shit Republicans do on a daily basis, and they find what you say reprehensible. How does anyone take them seriously? I don't think you are supposed to take it seriously. I think that the people that take it seriously are insincere, right? The New York Times featured Hasan Piker declaring that he understands murdering healthcare executives like Brian Thompson as citing Frederick Engels for responding to social murder. This is the same person who said U.S. deserved 9/11 and advocated for political violence. This is the same newspaper that effectively banned a U.S. senator for citing the use of military to quell violent protests, which was later done on January 6th, says Jonathan Turdley. So here's a couple things. It's not about making arguments. It's about telling people what the socially acceptable position towards you is. Yes, this is a disciplining process. Okay, the 5 is going to definitely cover this as well. Every day we are moving closer and closer to Donald Trump coming out and being like, someone has to kill this Hasan Piker guy. But here's the thing. Okay, here's the important factor. A lot of people are confused as to why this conversation is taking place. I've also played the fool when talking about it, but I know exactly why this conversation is taking place. Both the establishment elite in the Democratic Party and its gatekeepers in mainstream media want to have safeguards. Conversation is appropriate and acceptable and what is not. This is a disciplining mechanism. Okay? That's all it is. That's precisely what it is. My favorite media critic, Adam Johnson, obviously had some choice words on this issue as well. Where is it? Let me see if I can find exactly what he said. Oh, yeah, here it is. He was responding to Neera Tanden, saying, this whole Piker discourse has been embarrassing to every person who has tried to make him the spokesman for the Democrats. Adam Johnson says, people like to mock the triviality of the Piker discourse, but it's useful to see it as an elite moral panic / disciplining exercise. Tanden hired not one, but 2 architects of the Gaza genocide. CAP, Center for American Progress, is bankrolled by corporate America. These guys desperately needed to be 2015 forever. Absent a boss they can tattle to, their preferred method of disciplining, these manufactured controversies are all they have. That's all this is. The Overton window has slid completely out of control on the issue of Gaza, on the issue of Israel, and they're trying to do their very best to manage the conversation, to try to like pull it back, to yank it, right? And the more mainstream media outlets offer me any credibility or even a microphone to say what I want to say, the more they lose their fucking minds. Not understanding that I already have the platform, right? It's right here. And many people in the media recognize that I have the platform. And that's precisely the reason why they don't actually mind giving me an opportunity to speak, because from their perspective, they benefit from it, right? They probably benefit from it more than I do, because these guys think that this is the only way to reach out to a broad audience. It's not. That used to be the case, but that's no longer the case, right? The Third Way Bulwark Daily Wire Anti-Hasan Alliance works because they're all actually conservatives who don't want a progressive politics to disrupt the feckless establishment liberal order. Nikki McCann Ramirez writes, we will continue doing Hasan discourse until you are a desiccated husk being told that the next shitty candidate who loses to a fake Republican populace would have won if you had simply gone on my stream podcast show instead. So that's it. That's the problem. Okay? They want to put the toothpaste back in the fucking tube, and they can't deal with it. So they're trying to at least yell at anyone who even looks in my direction, who looks in the direction of this community. They're trying to say, don't talk to this person. Do not talk to this person, or we will come after you. Not realizing that every single time they do stuff like this, they end up boosting my profile, and it backfires on them because it causes boomers, some of which will hate me, obviously the Fox News watchers, to look at what I have to say and go, yeah, I don't really agree with it. Whatever, who gives a shit? I'll forget about it and I'll move on. But it also causes boomers to look at what I have to say and go, actually, this person is not so crazy. I don't know why they are presenting him as crazy. I kind of agree with him. Okay? So they're putting more attention and more eyeballs, and also causing people to negatively polarize against Fox News as well. John Favreau says 0 people have tried to make Hasan Piker the spokesman for the Democrats. He showed up at one campaign event with one candidate in a primary and sat for some interviews. What's embarrassing is the number of people on here treating him like he's a 2028 contender or the DNC chair. I said, I know no one asked me or cares about my opinion, but I don't want to be the spokesman for the Dems either. Also, the major problem here is Israel, 100%. Do not let anybody tell you otherwise. That is precisely the point here. It's actually the position on Israel that I hold, that I've maintained, that I've seen a lot of the public discourse and public sentiment shift in my favor. That is what they're fearful of. God forbid if people started seeing it in the same way for Medicare for all. God forbid people actually start viewing capitalism in the same way. Okay? That's the problem. They don't want that to happen. And they feel as though independent media is finally putting a dent through the fourth estate that has been able to normalize the systematic forms of violence that people are subjected to and normalize it very effectively for the longest time. This doesn't mean that like every person that works in these legacy publishers are immoral beings or anything like that. As you guys know, I'm a fan of real reporting. I defend it all the time. I defend time. I wish it would do better, but that is the problem. Okay, that is the real problem, rather, not any of this other shit. Jeet here had a good take on this as well, because Matt Bruning was defending me. I think you're very clearly misrepresenting Piker here. He was asked to theorize why some people reacted to the killing positively, and his theory is that they did so due to the disgust with health insurance sector social murder, which is a well-defined term of art. Separately, health insurance is a fairly simple problem with a fairly simple solution. Okay, this was Kelsey Piper, who is one of those like effective altruist people, I guess. Who has been losing her mind as well, and like very openly demonstrating her personal biases while hiding it or sheltering it as though it's like objective analysis, right? The other point that I wanted to mention here was from Austerity is Theft, one of my favorite accounts on here, Why to the Post, who actually had some really thoughtful critique on what was going on. Where is it? Hold on. Where is it? Oh, he started off here. He says, there's zero contradiction between this anti-Hasan elite mob oscillating between we need to publicly condemn him 12 times a day and if you ask Gemini, he doesn't have any viewers and is irrelevant because this Discord is aimed at other elites. This Discord is not about this discourse that's going on right now is not actually about me at all. This discourse is 100% about signaling to other elites, signaling to other gatekeepers in mainstream media to stay the fuck away. Okay? To stay the fuck away. Okay? They've been trying to kick him off Twitch and YouTube for years. It hasn't worked. So they're trying to make him toxic so that nobody in politics wants to go on a show so that it can't serve as a launch pad for a rising crop of left populists, particularly critics of Israel. The Israel-Trump war on Iran has only served to make this feel urgent or existential for them. Their power base is in terminal decline. When it comes to public opinion, it's not surprising that everyone trading in this Hasan dumping represents a zombie politics on its way out. Yeah, and you see it. She's being cordial with an actual white supremacist, Richard Hanania, who said, Democrats, stop this, please. This is the road to hell. Richard Hanania is literally a race realist who has written extensively on the genetic inferiority of black people, okay? The type of person whose politics are so cancerous that simply switching from R to D should not automatically mean that this person is an ally. And yet, for the likes of Neera Tanden, this person is an ally, right? This person is the number one ally because they do not represent any sort of disruptive politics. Okay? This person who not only is a straight up white supremacist race realist, but this person also, Richard Hanania, is a defender of Jeffrey Epstein and a defender of pedophilia. Okay? She's being cordial with an actual white supremacist because they have one common enemy, and it's anyone half a click to the left of Bill Clinton who won't offer them a job, says Why to the Post. The only discernible skill this basket case has is career self-preservation. There was another one. as far as like this discourse goes, okay, where Jill Filipovich, another one of these like elites, right? This whole interview just makes me incredibly sad. Total breakdown of any moral code, sense of personal integrity, commitment to public good. He responds to us by saying, what are you talking about? The whole interview is about the breakdown of the social contract and how people are rationalizing it. None of these people are actually endorsing a crime spree. How do people, professional pundits no less, not grasp that this is tongue-in-cheek? Complete breakdown of the social contract. If you crop out quotes, pretend that it's tongue-in-cheek line about the Louvre is literal, and reframe talking about a breakdown of the social contract as an endorsement of breaking the social contract, just look at what got cropped. Would you dine and dash from a local diner? Never, never. No, I wouldn't do that. If I saw somebody doing that, I'd probably pay for their meal. The discourse about this piece, goddamn, like so many elite commentators have mainlined so much Hasan hate clip stuff over the past month that they're now functionally illiterate. He said in this interview that he'd never actually steal even a candy bar because of his parents. They talked about why polling showed younger Americans had an uncommonly positive view of Mangione and his heinous crime, which none of them condoned as ethical. Explicitly not. They did not endorse it. They talked about how that view could come about. Are people illiterate? Murder of the CEO of a healthcare company? Also no. No. It's such a hookup that is unintellectual, which is hilarious. Okay? It is objectively it is objectively not intellectually curious. It's not intellectually honest. Okay. And these guys are entertaining it. Some of these people know better and they're still entertaining it. And the reason for why they're entertaining it is because they have no other way to have a sincere conversation with an oppositional framework. Okay. They don't. They know that the oppositional framework is actually generating a lot more, gaining momentum, right? Like people who are unbelievably critical of the current system that they exist under, the system of capitalism, they're terrified of it because their jobs rely on defending capitalism, right? They're writing fanfic now, Unc. Guys, you don't have to show me all the fucking dumb fucks, all right? Anyway, my favorite part of all this is the most bigoted people all of a sudden are woke and using woke language when describing you. Yeah, I know. They drop all of their priors when it comes to destroying their opponent in the marketplace of ideas, right? So the last thing I wanted to cover from Austerity is Theft is impossible to even have a discourse when pundits are this illiterate and dishonest. He was asked to comment on why a chunk of young adults had an uncommonly positive view of this heinous killing. Also, if this was ethically justified and plainly said so. And he plainly said no. How does she frame it? Piker's view on theft are bad, but they really do pale in comparison to his views on murder. That the important thing about Brian Thompson's murder is that healthcare CEOs are engaging in a tremendous amount of social murder due to the structural violence of poverty. Okay? I'm responding to a question about why Gen Z had a very different approach. And I very clearly lay it out in that conversation as well. I say Americans are quite draconian when it comes to punishing crimes, right? And yet the response to Luigi Mangione was shocking by the masses. One must ask the question why they were not so black and white on the issue of broad daylight murder. This is not me endorsing murder, okay? As a matter of fact, I say it's not the appropriate method here at all. It's not good. It's a violation of the social contract. But for many, that social contract has already been ripped apart. That's precisely the reason why they respond to this murder in a way that you normally wouldn't expect. His views on theft, per that New York Times interview, people are pretending to talk about, are that he would never shoplift anything personally because of his parents. He was asked to comment on why public is increasingly willing to rationalize shrink from a self-checkout at big box stores. Hey, crazy idea, but maybe people are willing to rationalize theft from self-checkout machines because we've made the experience of buying something a totally depersonalized act of self-provided labor to get extorted by a tiny consortium of hyper-concentrated mega corporations. Pretty much every major big box retailer has been rethinking and getting rid of self-checkout machines as a result of this increasingly casual theft. And they say so openly, but if you say the same thing as Walmart, but are on the left, people funded by Walmart heirs attack you. Yeah, this was another one that I retweeted. Good morning. I'm an established political journalist, and I'm going to pretend like I don't understand context, hypotheticals, and moral relativity just so I can once again try to destroy Hasan Piker. I'm a very serious person whose opinion you should care about. Okay? So it's a totally idiotic exercise, and it literally, I tried to explain that it doesn't matter, but everyone assumes that their interlocutors are cynically saying certain things, not because they genuinely believe it. Okay? I must be saying this doesn't matter. This doesn't actually harm my bottom line or my goals here of reaching a broader audience and actually getting them to understand where I'm coming from. They don't get that. They think, oh, I'm just saying it because it's actually working. It's working. It's not. Even if you succeeded in successfully getting all these other mainstream outlets to be like, I don't want Hasan to be anywhere near us, it wouldn't work on it wouldn't do anything.
Are criminalized to shocking degrees,
Anyway,
even in Europe, And I guess I'm saying, like, maybe we are getting the lack of courage is maybe a rational response to the kind of the way these actions are treated in the popular consciousness as well as by the criminal justice system, but they shouldn't be.
I want to get back a little bit to the anger underneath this. Like in 1965, CEOs were paid 21 times the average worker. In 2024, CEOs are paid 281 times the average worker. I feel like some of this is coming from a feeling of like the social contract is broken. And then there's also the slippery slope of what happens if we completely break the social contract and no one plays by the rules anymore. And I wonder where you two see the interplay of those two ideas.
Well, the rules are already designed in a way where if you steal from the poor, you become rich. If you steal from the wealthy, you go to prison. So there's only one direction where you can do unlimited theft and erode the social contract for the 99%. There's an invisibility baked into the system that allows the wealthy to engage in this sort of behavior. Because I mean, it's a cliche at this point, but like wage theft is the most consequential amount of theft that takes place in the United States of America. A similar invisibility exists in structural violence as opposed to individual acts of violence as well. If it's a police officer engaging someone violently, the automatic assumption from the average person is, oh, that's probably a criminal. They probably deserved it. But if there's any circumstance where someone else is fighting back against police, like in a normal protest environment, for example, ultimately, most people assume that is chaotic. There's a chaotic situation, and that it is born out of the escalations from the protesters themselves, even if, as regular citizens, we're infinitely closer to those exercising their First Amendment rights than those with the power stamping out people exercising their free speech rights. We never look at systemic forms of violence, and we don't look at systemic forms of theft in the same way that we do as individuals breaking that social contract.
I think there is, in my ideal world, what we are talking about, the one kind of theft being inescapable and hegemonic and, completely oppressive, and then people trying to get a little bit of it back through stealing from Whole Foods or whatever, right? It's in the ideal world, it is not one in which this continues and this increases to somehow even it out, right? When is one in which the theft from above is broken by regulatory means and or bottom up means like unionization, right?
You were just talking about not being like we should encourage wanton theft across the board, but we should try and fight against the theft that comes from the top. It feels difficult right now in a moment when
the funniest part about this wave of outrage over this interview is that there's absolutely nothing radical about it. It's basically a common sense based on the logic of anyone with even a basic understanding of reality. Yeah, I wasn't being like particularly radical in my commentary here at all. But what I find strange, I guess it's not so strange, it's very commonplace, is the handshake between right-wing reactionaries, from Ben Shapiro to Fox News commentary to all of the right flank of the liberal Democratic Party, people in positions of power within the party structure, doing the exact same analysis, right? Like, I hope people can see exactly what's going on here. This is a rehashing of the exact same ridiculous outrage that was manufactured towards Bernie Sanders in 2016 and in 2020 as well. They're doing it right now. They can't do it towards Bernie Sanders to the same degree. So now they're just like using a platform to punish this kind of thought, to say this is unacceptable. Okay? They called Bernie Sanders racist. He was not. They called him sexist. He was not. And they leaned into any line that they could. They leaned into like any kind of silly, nonsensical position they could to just disparage him, to disparage this movement, right? Important to note for the materialist analysis, centrist Dems and the GOP have the same billionaire donors. Exactly. I mean, it's true. That's, part of the point. And Michael from Pennsylvania also said something that's interesting. He said, it's actually useful from my point of view because I don't want you to support squishy progressives. Only the real ones will stick by you. Yeah, I mean, look, I know who is insincere. I know who is like using this as an opportunity to do this self-serving bullshit, right? There are people on the left who will also lean into this moment that I have in the fucking spotlight again to be like, yeah, he actually sucks. We don't even like him. He's not a real anti-imperialist, Marxist, Leninist, or he's not a real Maoist third worldist. That kind of thing, right? Like, there are people like that as well. There are obviously a lot of squishy, quote unquote, progressives that will look at this like pretty basic commentary on the ripping apart of the social contract and why these sorts of things are happening, why these sorts of instances of instability are taking place. According to a recent study from Yale, there are 68,000 excess deaths per year that can be attributed to people who delay or avoid care because of their lack of health insurance. What do you attribute their deaths to? Magic? No, it's the structure of our healthcare system, right? The best posts, though, are the ones that just put your thoughts in quotation marks as though it makes it scarier. They sound incredibly normal just as a statement.
About.
In an interview with the New York Times, Democrat influencer Hasan Piker explains why the United Healthcare CEO's structural violence may have justified his assassination. He calls the American criminal justice system draconian. I don't fucking understand. Like, I mean, they're trying to bastardize my take there. I'm not saying it justifies it. I'm just saying that from their perspective, the reason why they interpret it as such, as like revenge, is because they God, I hate when they call me a fucking Democrat influencer. It's so fucking annoying. I am not a Democrat influencer. Jesus Christ. So many people keep saying Democrat spokesperson. But yeah, ultimately, though, this is a disciplining exercise and it should be treated as such. That's precisely what this is. It's a way to signal to others, hey, you need to shut the fuck up. You can't say certain things. You can't think certain thoughts. And male Olivia Juliana. Okay, calm down, man. How dare you? Okay, chill the fuck out. Don't say stuff like that. That's messed up. Please don't do that. There are only two parties and they have to tie you to one of them. Yeah, except most people that are paying attention realize that there is like almost as much, if not more anger and resentment from the gatekeepers of the Democratic Party, right? That's what the fuck's going on. Here it is. Piker's views on theft are bad, but they really do pale in comparison. This is, again, supposed to be like a fucking, not a conservative, but like a progressive figure saying this stuff, right? They really do pale in comparison to his views on murder. That the important thing about Brian Thompson's murder is that the healthcare CEOs are engaging in tremendous amounts of social murder due to the structural violence of poverty. Suboptimal policy and business decisions of cost measured in human lives. But if you use the standard, you could easily have done something different to save a life. You didn't. Being a person in the U.S. with 10K and not giving it to GiveWell is social murder. No, that's not how social murder works. You're a fucking idiot. It's a well-established concept. It is pertinent on you to go and look it up. If you don't know something, if you don't understand a concept that I didn't come up with, I didn't invent this, okay? Then it is up to you as a supposed prolific thinker to go and look it up. And what's really frustrating about this is that many people don't do that. They bask in their lack of interest. They bask in their lack of intellectual curiosity. They wear it on their fucking sleeves like it's a beneficial power, a superpower to have. Okay? That's what's so fucking annoying about this. Because these are the supposed thinkers on the liberal side. Okay? You just cannot run a society in which you treat being somewhere indirectly upstream of a legal but suboptimal system with preventable deaths as murder in the very literal sense of it makes it understandable, even sympathetic for someone to execute you in the street. And Piker's take is very much that it makes it understandable and sympathetic. He thinks that it's reasonable that it does not reflect some wider acceptance of murder to accept Thompson's murder because Thompson was that bad. And he thinks that because our healthcare system is so bad that morally everyone in power is guilty of social murder. And as far as I can tell, that we should reason about them basically the way we'd reason about someone guilty of, actual murder. His shoplifting takes are kind of a soft degradation of the social fabric, a call for everything to be a bit worse for everyone forever. His murder takes are, as far as I can tell, a call for CEOs to live in terror and occasionally be murdered until healthcare is fixed forever. That murdering CEOs does not in the slightest make healthcare better in any way. It obviously wouldn't do that. That healthcare is actually a hard problem and very few people involved are just letting people die for fun. Doesn't feature in his worldview anywhere. Matt Bruenig responded and said, I think you've clearly misrepresented Piker here. He was asked to theorize why some people reacted to the killing positively. And his theory is that they did so due to the disgust with the health insurance sector's social murder, which is a well-defined term of art, right? Hasan seems to himself understand the language and framing he uses a death threat and to plainly name it as such. Now, the reason why this is not the same is because I wasn't calling for fucking Brian Thompson to be murdered, you absolute moron. This person is literally calling for me to be murdered and saying, oh, you're a stochastic terrorist. Brian Thompson is a part of a system that engages in social murder. It is not a justification for his death. It's not a call for his death. It's not a call for more CEOs to be killed. You're making that interpretation. This person, on the other hand, absolutely has in the past had, many similar statements that he's revealed about himself. Literally has the beeper emoji in his fucking social media account and is also falsely saying that I'm engaging in stochastic terrorism. Different things are different than one another. Yeah, well, the person he's talking about genuinely loves when Israel kills people. You don't think people wouldn't understand why Hasan was killed if the worst happened? I avoided going around saying this. If this person were killed, it'd make perfect sense under this ideological theory if Hasan is the moral equivalent of a murderer, because I think it's a bad idea to provide ideological cover for murder. I think the difference between genocidal Zionism and the 2020s healthcare industry are politically and substantively important. Did you define social murder in the interview? Yes, I did. In any case, where the fuck is it? There's Matt Bruenig continued. The fact that the simple solution of raising taxes substantially on most households is not popular enough to get passed in the law is part of why this is truly not a simple solution. Would you pay $1 in extra tax to save yourself $2 in premiums? I don't really want to get into it. Yeah, and then Matt goes into detail of why Medicare for all would be cheaper for the average person. But a solid majority of the U.S. press and the Democratic Party laundered genocidal incitements and apologia for Israeli violence for roughly 2 years. I have never tweeted about Hasan Piker, who seems like a normal dude to me. But anyone halfway aware knows the mainstream media and Dem Party stalwarts want to scapegoat him for bad discourse hygiene instead of facing their own wretched conscience about what they permitted and encouraged. Obviously, that's a bunch of bullshit, but it's crazy that we have to say that at all. Yeah, go ask ordinary people who have paid attention to what Israel did or healthcare CEOs represent or about other normalized forms of predation, and you'll hear very similar sentiments, probably even more outright vicious. Who's to say they're wrong? The people with the bad conscience? Who cares? Yeah, like they try to make it seem like I'm this out of touch elite for having this take, but this take is a fairly common one, if not infinitely more openly violent. If you were to have a private conversation with the average American who has had to deal with a claim denial, or if you talk to the average American who looks at all this death and destruction and thinks, what the fuck is Israel doing? Why are my tax dollars going there? This is the problem. These guys don't want to have that conversation, and they certainly don't want to think about the morality of these actions. And it's much easier to kick the can down the road. But my argument always is, if left unaddressed, it will lead to more decentralized forms of violence. And I don't like that because I don't like the fucking chaos. Okay? I want solutions. I don't want continued, people taking matters into their own fucking hands. How are you planning to fight? It doesn't matter. People that have these opinions, they will continue having these opinions. Because the opinions are not actually about me. They're opinions about how this system actually works. It works well because it works well for them, or rather, their salaries are dependent on them continuing to defend this system. Okay? That's it. All I can do is just keep saying the fucking truth. Can you please address this? Yes. This is the most hurtful thing I've seen. Hasan Piker has one weak spot. It's his jumper. I've seen it. He shoots a hard ball. I like all his other stuff though. This is devastating. I didn't want to fucking even give it any daylight, okay? But yeah, I do feel like, once again, they've chosen to argue about an issue that is unbelievably unfucking popular, right? Now, they do have a devious way of framing the conversation around, like, how Hasan said murder is awesome and he wants more of it to happen or whatever. But I think most people can cut through that noise, or perhaps it's kind of like the Rick Scott phenomena. Maybe they do hear that, they do take it seriously, and then they go, no, I do think murder is awesome, which is a much more devastating predicament to be in. So maybe they should stop doing this, okay? So anyone who works for a company or has a belief system or supports an ideology Hasan Piker disagrees with can be murdered with impunity? Is that what I said? No, I didn't say that at all, you fucking weirdo. The left, he's not suggesting killing people, him. And then this is the Rick Scott take. This is Hasan responding to Mike Johnson about Republican positions on healthcare, saying that Rick Scott being a prominent member of their party shows that they don't care. Plus, if they did, the Republicans who are pro-death penalty, Hasan isn't, would have demanded for capital punishment. Again, this person is supposed to be a Democrat, by the way. This person is supposed to be a Democrat, like functionally defending Rick Scott doing record award winning levels of Medicare fraud. Piker spent 7 hours a day streaming and is apparently a millionaire. This is a performance Marxism entertainment. If someone came into his house or car, he was shit to be worked to death in a gulag. Okay, got it, buddy. Another delusional take from that lady. Oh yeah, the Strokes guy. Are Jews to blame for the Strokes not writing any good songs for 25 years? He didn't say Jews. He said American Zionists. Stop projecting. Yeah. That's the other unbelievable thing that's going on. But yeah. Wall Street Journal, Josh Krauscher reports, there's something deeper going on here than a fight over foreign policy. Democrats may be repulsed by Israel's behavior, but this is really an argument over America. The connection between socialism and anti-Zionism is revealing. Increasingly, one's attitude towards Israel and its self-defense reflects one's attitude towards America, its free market, its global leadership, its use of force, and its exceptional nature. The two democratic nations have a special role in this world. They share interests and adversaries, most notably radical Islamists pursuing nuclear weapons. Sammy Gold responds to this and says, there's a very simple reason why socialism and anti-Zionism became married. The entire American establishment stood behind Israel and didn't allow for any peep of anti-Zionism to occur. No one made the case for liberal, center-left anti-Zionism, and the case can be made. This is part of it. Josh Shapiro was asked about you again. Jewish Insider, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro supports U.S. aid to Israel, but calls to use it as leverage. In an interview with Jewish Insider, Shapiro said he hasn't really thought about whether he would appear on Hasan Piker's stream, but he hasn't been invited. I mean, I see this as retreat, by the way, because Josh Shapiro is a fairly open defender of the state of Israel. I mean, he worked for the Israeli embassy in his youth. So for him to basically say, oh, I haven't really thought about appearing, but he's never invited me is a sign that even more moderate Democrats, prominent Democrats with ambitions of higher office are actually seeing the discourse and are not leaning into the most ridiculous framework. Anyway. But yeah, that's the point that we're at for some fucking weird reason. It's exceptionally funny that this discourse came out of a podcast that got 5,000 views on YouTube. Okay. Isn't that funny? There are thousands upon thousands of impressions more on Twitter about this podcast that got 5,000 views on YouTube. Nira Tandon, by the way, is one of my most unhinged haters at this point. Literally nonstop talking about this shit. John Favreau said this. Damn my brain. New podcast got 50K on YouTube when he went on. Yeah, they have to be actively suppressing the video reach. I just like she's lost her dang mind. Rokana says, we're the party of redemption, believing you deserve a second chance if you made a mistake as a young person or deserve to make life. If you came here undocumented but work hard and play by the rules, yet when it comes to political disagreements, we have taken a very different attitude. If someone held political viewpoints we disagree with or said sensational or hurtful things, we feel vindication and moral certitude in our conduct. Great philosopher Ted Lasso, be curious, not judgmental. I'd like my party to lead in redeeming America to live up to its promise. And then Nira Tandon is he asking for redemption? Isn't that kind of a core issue here? Nira, I'm not the one who should be asking for redemption. You are. Look at you. You should be begging. In a just world, you would be literally begging for redemption for how much you have worked with bloodthirsty monsters like Benjamin Netanyahu. That's the problem. Okay? I'm going to do that. I'm going to quote retweet her with this photo. In a just world, you'd be begging for redemption for all the laundering you did for this war criminal. Fuck it. I'm going to cook her. BB pre-October 7. Don't even let her go to that because that's her return always. It doesn't matter. She's continued to work with people who have actually worked to continue the genocide. She was brought back into the Center for American Progress in a leadership role for that specific reason. Anyway, spell check redemption. She hired multiple former Biden Israel advisors in the cap. Yeah. Oh, I wrote redemption wrong. God damn it. Okay. Including the numerous Biden Israel advisors you hired for cap on top of the numerous Biden Israel advisors you hired for cap. Yeah. He's not saying anything here that I didn't see coming from the people of every class, color, and creed all over the internet. This isn't his unique view. It was largely America's, which is ironic because that was the point I was fucking making, right? What the fuck? Why did redemption kick back? In a just world, you'd be begging for redemption for all the laundering you did for this war criminal on top of the numerous Biden Israel advisors you hired for cap. There you go. There you go. Fixed it. At DNC Big Dog, demand them release the autopsy while you're dragging them. Keyboard warrior, you ain't changing shit with tweets. Yeah, unlike you. A keyboard warrior criticizing another keyboard warrior with a much larger platform. If my statements are not changing anything about American political discourse as a political commentator who has clearly actually ruffled a decent number of fucking feathers here, what the fuck are you doing? Come on now. Come on now. Ha! Your strategy of pissing off every fucking elite neoliberal from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party is paling in comparison to my approach, which is to yell at you on your Twitch stream as I subscribe to the Piker Broadcasting Service. I don't live in your terrorist country. Oh, okay. Oh, well, thank you for your 11 months of support. Okay. He's a furry. His opinion is irrelevant. Yes. Thank you for your 11 months of continued support to the Piker Broadcasting Service. Okay. What the fuck? This tweet wasn't saved. Why? Here, update again. Boom. Bro, why do you pay Hasan money if you don't like him, Lamau? Yeah. There's many such cases. But yeah, big pharma press release with Trump. Positive viral tweet about you. Yeah, I said this.
If you steal from the poor, you become rich. If you steal from the wealthy, you go to prison. So there's only one direction where you can do unlimited theft and erode the social contract. 9%. There's an invisibility baked into the system that allows the wealthy to engage in this sort of behavior. Because I mean, it's a cliche at this point, but like wage theft is the most consequential amount of theft that takes place in the United States of America.
Yep. But yeah, I welcome everyone that is new, that's coming into the broadcast, following for the first time ever, to subscribe. I like them just not just worshiping every single thing he do, clowns. Wait, what? I like him, not just worshiping every single thing he do. Wait, what? Worship? Who the fuck asked you to worship anything? You just are shit talking in my chat on my Twitch stream about me fucking responding to Neera Tanden, who is, you know, somewhat of a key figure in the Democratic Party with profound power. I didn't say worship me. I was just making fun of you engaging in something that is infinitely more futile than what I'm doing. Anyway, but thank you. People were cooking you on bad faith smears when they should have been cooking you for looking exceptionally Matt Walshy in that interview. Okay, don't fucking say that. Yeah, Neera Tanden was on CNN yesterday complaining about Abdul El-Sayed. How can you guys not see that this is... Neera, you can't just keep repeating quotes that are out of context that have been debunked. See Aaron Regenberg, or that he's apologized for. It's bad faith. And again, a reminder, you had an actual wanted war criminal at your think tank and you were super friendly with him. Love you guys, but you've given him more airtime than some people consider a run for president. Sorry if I think it's important to state out loud here my disagreements with a guy who says it's okay to murder people. Jews are inbred. America was responsible for 9/11 and Russia was right to invade Crimea, amongst many other insane things. Oh my God. Every single fucking thing she said is false. I don't think I need a PhD in psychology for this one. Oh yeah, I mean this was very funny. I try not to project on here, says Magdi Jacobs, who tweets about me relentlessly every single day. I try not to project, but now I can objectively say he sounds exactly like my ex-husband, because this is exactly what my ex-husband has literally said. Why would anyone demand Democrats be in a relationship with someone who sounds like my psychopathic ex-husband? Why? Ask him what he thinks about Ted Kaczynski next. I'm sure it will be illuminating. I'm not triggered per se. Ugh. But I do have a distinct memory of not being able to escape from my ex-husband, and then also having to hear, let's talk about Luigi Mangione, and wanting to launch myself in the fucking sun. Now the same thing is being forced on all of us. Sorry for the burp. I'm not triggered, but I am absolutely triggered. I think we oftentimes forget how much of the anger and resentment that people have towards someone like myself is just around the optics. Like, I remind them of their ex-boyfriend or their ex-husband or someone who was mansplaining to them in college. Or I remind them of a jock that bullied them relentlessly, and they just can't fucking stand it, where they're like, fuck you. Or in some instances, it's literally just, why does he have this platform? Why can't this platform be mine? I am much more deserving of this fucking platform that he has. Okay? That's all it is. And then for Ben Shapiro, it's obviously an instant classic. This guy's perhaps the biggest piece of shit on the internet, and Democrats mainstream him. Disgusting. I said, buddy, you love Israel's genocide so much you've lost more than half your audience. You claim Medicare for all would mean enslaving your doctor wife. You think I give a fuck about how you respond to a clip where I'm offering analysis to why some amongst Gen Z responded to Luigi Mangione the way they did? Yeah, I have all the best takes. Why won't people answer me? Why won't people actually listen to me? Me. That's what it is for the most part. Last point was, what is this? The Atlantic? Dr.
You may have seen.
Glenn Greenwald came to my defense as well. Nobody's elevated and expanded Hasan Piker's platform and influence as much as moronic establishment Dems like this and their media allies who denounce him incessantly because it's easier than opposing Trump's war or Israel or corporatism or doing or saying anything else that's substantive. The most recent polling data shows 60 to 75% of Americans don't know who Hasan is, as he himself has pointed out. And far more Americans have learned of him in the past 2 months because of dumb Democratic Party denouncement rituals. So he was even less known before this began. Big Pharma press release with Trump. Positive viral tweet about you. Yeah, I said this.
If you steal from the poor, you become rich. If you steal from the wealthy, you go to prison. So there's only one direction where you can do unlimited theft and erode the social contract 9%. There's an invisibility baked into the system that allows the wealthy to engage in this sort of behavior. Because I mean, it's a cliche at this point, but like wage theft is the most consequential amount of theft that takes place in the United States of America.
Yep. But yeah, I welcome everyone that is new, that's coming into the broadcast, following for the first time ever, to subscribe. I like him not just worshiping every single thing he do, clowns. Wait, what? I like him, not just worshiping every single thing he do. Wait, what? Worship? Who the fuck asked you to worship anything? You just are shit talking in my chat on my Twitch stream about me fucking responding to Neera Tanden, who is, you know, somewhat of a key figure in the Democratic Party with profound power. I didn't say worship me. I was just making fun of you engaging in something that is infinitely more futile than what I'm doing. Anyway, but thank you. People were cooking you on bad faith smears when they should have been cooking you for looking exceptionally Matt Walshy in that interview. Okay, don't fucking say that. Yeah, Neera Tanden was on CNN yesterday complaining about Abdul El-Sayed. How can you guys not see that this is... Neera, you can't just keep repeating quotes that are out of context that have been debunked. See Aaron Regenberg, or that he's apologized for. It's bad faith. And again, a reminder, you had an actual wanted war criminal at your think tank and you were super friendly with him. Love you guys, but you've given him more airtime than some people consider a run for president. Sorry if I think it's important to state out loud to hear my disagreements with a guy who says it's okay to murder people. Jews are inbred. America was responsible for 9/11 and Russia was right to invade Crimea, amongst many other insane things. Oh my God. Every single fucking thing she said is false. I don't think I need a PhD in psychology for this one. Oh yeah, I mean this was very funny. I try not to project on here, says Magdi Jacobs, who tweets about me relentlessly every single day. I try not to project, but now I can objectively say he sounds exactly like my ex-husband, because this is exactly what my ex-husband has literally said. Why would anyone demand Democrats be in a relationship with someone who sounds like my psychopathic ex-husband? Why? Ask him what he thinks about Ted Kaczynski next. I'm sure it will be illuminating. I'm not triggered per se. Ugh. But I do have a distinct memory of not being able to escape from my ex-husband, and then also having to hear, let's talk about Luigi Mangione, and wanting to launch myself in the fucking sun. Now the same thing is being forced on all of us. Sorry for the burp. I'm not triggered, but I am absolutely triggered. I think we oftentimes forget how much of the anger and resentment that people have towards someone like myself is just around the optics. Like, I remind them of their ex-boyfriend or their ex-husband or someone who was mansplaining to them in college. Or I remind them of a jock that bullied them relentlessly, and they just can't fucking stand it, where they're like, fuck you. Or in some instances, it's literally just, why does he have this platform? Why can't this platform be mine? I am much more deserving of this fucking platform that he has. Okay? That's all it is. And then for Ben Shapiro, it's obviously an instant classic. This guy's perhaps the biggest piece of shit on the internet, and Democrats mainstream him. Disgusting. I said, buddy, you love Israel's genocide so much you've lost more than half your audience. You claim Medicare for all would mean enslaving your doctor wife. You think I give a fuck about how you respond to a clip where I'm offering analysis to why some amongst Gen Z responded to Luigi Mangione the way they did? Yeah, I have all the best takes. Why won't people answer me? Why won't people actually listen to me? Me. That's what it is for the most part. Last point was, what is this? The Atlantic? Dr.
You may have seen.
Glenn Greenwald came to my defense as well. Nobody's elevated and expanded Hasan Piker's platform and influence as much as moronic establishment Dems like this and their media allies who denounce him incessantly because it's easier than opposing Trump's war or Israel or corporatism or doing or saying anything else that's substantive. The most recent polling data shows 60 to 75% of Americans don't know who Hasan is, as he himself has pointed out. And far more Americans have learned of him in the past 2 months because of dumb Democratic Party denouncement rituals. So he was even less known before this began. Insanely pointless shaming routine. Democrats constantly say they want the left's Joe Rogan, but they can't stand anything or anyone they can't completely control and force to parrot Dem establishment propaganda, which is one big reason they drove Joe Rogan away in the first place. That's why they financed the lamest, most banal, and most compliant partisan drones like David A. Pacman, and then are befuddled that it doesn't work. Dems keep talking about Hasan Piker because they have nothing else to offer. Yeah, politicians will leap to defend an ICE agent killing an innocent protester and then clutch their pearls at Americans' growing indifference to a healthcare CEO getting shot. How do you expect us to appreciate the sanctity of life when America funds a genocide and bombs schools and kills their own citizens? Exactly. But, like, you know, good luck to the Democratic Party on their endeavors to platform the appropriate independent media figures. I saw, contrary to what people say about me, George Soros, unironically, or not George Soros, but Alex Soros, actually had some choice words Alex Soros said, where is it? Let me see if I can find it. Alex Soros said, there is already. We can do better than a Joe Rogan on the left, and we have. They're called Midas Touch, and they're outperforming every benchmark. Congrats, guys. So I guess I won't be receiving that fucking those Soros books anytime soon. I've been following Alex Soros on Instagram, where he follows me back, actually, for quite a while now. So this was a devastating blow to my confidence and also my future endeavors as a recipient of Soros bucks. Third Way saying you make them look smarter. Every day Hasan Piker makes Third Way look smarter. Yeah, no, definitely. Drop him a DM. Yeah. Anyway, if we're going to talk about the actual issues that I am constantly yelling about, which we will get back to in a second, the Democrats are cooked, and they know that they're cooked, and that's probably the reason why they don't want to talk about those issues at all, and instead spend a good deal of time talking about me instead. And that is where we're at. But does he press? Okay, sure. This was
WNYC Studios is supported by Odoo.
Brian Lehrer did a show segment with Daniel Denvir, who has written about me, who I've known for a while now. He's a brilliant guy, where he had a debate about little old me. We're going to be listening to this, or at least some choice words, choice parts of this conversation against Jonathan Cowan, co-founder and president of the centrist think tank Third Way, and Daniel Denvir, journalist and host of the Jacobin podcast, The Dig, author of The All-American Nativism by Verso Books, addresses Piker's statements and a debate on whether or not politicians should interact with him, and more broadly, if he belongs in the Democratic coalition.
When you buy business software from lots of vendors, the costs add up, and it gets
in Carl's spot. Look
to appear on Hasan Piker's Twitch stream or include him as a surrogate at campaign rallies. For those not familiar, Hasan Piker is a 34-year-old leftist Twitch streamer touted as a potential Joe Rogan of the left, that is, the host of a show that reaches millions of young voters, especially young men, who get their politics from podcasts and things like Twitch streams rather than conventional news media. Like Rogan, Piker's audience of an estimated 3 million swings young and swings male, seemingly ripe fruit for Democrats looking to win back a swath of party defectors. The problem for the party is that Piker is very outspoken. Sometimes get him labeled misogynist, racist, anti-Semitic, and anti-American. In a minute, we'll play a few examples and debate two questions. Is Hasan Piker a hater or a truth teller? And just strategically, is it smart for Democrats to go on his show or smarter to stay away? But here's a little more background. Early this month, Michigan Senate candidate Abdul El Said, running in the Democratic primary, campaigned with Piker at the University of Michigan and Michigan State. El Sayed's campaign said the rallies drew more sign-ups than any other event of his campaign. They also drew condemnation.
No way you went on my Go Brian Lehrer? No, I didn't go on your Go Brian Lehrer. Daniel Denvir did to debate the head of Third Way, Jonathan Cowan, and apparently cooked his ass.
State Senator Mallory McMorrow compared Piker
absolutely
to far-right.
Destroyed him, is what people said. When the ones that listened to it this morning were saying that Daniel fucking cumstered and dumpstered Jonathan Cowan. If there's any highlights, Cowan doesn't even try to form an argument. He literally just clutches his pearls and yells, "I can't believe the left is defending this guy," over and over again. It's actually insane, Lamau. Yeah. People were giving rave reviews.
White nationalist streamer Nick Fuentes. So appearing with Piker has become a 2026 litmus test of sorts for Democrats, one way or another. Politico had an article about this recently that named 3 Democratic presidential hopefuls for 2028 who say they would appear with Piker. They were California Governor Gavin Newsom, California Congressman Ro Khanna, and former Chicago Mayor and White House Chief of Staff Rahm Emanuel. They're on the yes, I would appear with Hasan Piker side of that. One likely Democratic presidential candidate who Politico included.
By the way, I'm not the litmus test. Israel is, okay? That's the point. They want to turn me into a litmus test, but the reason why they want to turn me into a litmus test is because they can't fucking turn Israel into a litmus test.
No column is New Jersey Senator Cory Booker. Booker affirmed that position when I asked him about it here last month. Here's that exchange.
I'd be honest with you, I was not that familiar with this person until my staff came up to me and showed me a lot of the quotes that he said that seemed to me strikingly wrong and problematic, to say the least. And so I have lots of people, as you heard another caller, that I spend my time with and listen to and talk to. You know, I'm a person that's trying to heal and bring people together from different perspectives. So from what I've been presented by my staff, it does not. That's not somebody I want to sit down with.
Senator Cory Booker here last month. A lot of the heat around Piker right now comes from the center-left Democratic Party-affiliated think tank Third Way. Last month, Third Way President Jonathan Cowan, who'll join us in a minute as one of the debaters, co-authored a Wall Street Journal op-ed arguing Democrats are too cozy with Piker. That was in the headline, citing his past comments on Jews, on 9/11, on Israel, and more. Third Way then sent a public letter calling off.
By the way, this introduction is precisely the reason why this media hit job has been happening for the past month. Because someone like Brian Lehrer doesn't know who the fuck I am. He's just reading the highlights, right? And if the highlights for people like Brian Lehrer is that I'm a fucking rapacious Jew hater who may or may not have been involved with 9/11, he's going to just repeat that verbatim, okay? I can't be everywhere all at once, and I can't actually fucking defend all of my positions everywhere all at once. I can defend all my fucking positions, but I can't do it all the time, non-fucking stop. So the expectation is that even those who are stand-in, those who are engaging in this conversation, like Daniel, is that the positions are presented in the most indefensible format possible, so that people that don't know the full context of all of the smears look silly in their attempts to defend. Except Daniel obviously cooked here, so let's get into it.
Stepping away from the
campaign, pretty much. You got Fox News and corporate Democrats, AIPAC, ADL, Third Way, all of my enemies, all of the people whose politics I find to be repulsive, all these undemocratic forces in this country, all these fascist forces in this country are screaming from the rooftops.
And now that you have that much context, let's hear some of what Piker actually says about the issues and hear our guests debate how to take it and what's good for the Democratic Party and for the country and for the world. Joining me are Jonathan Cowan, co-founder and president of that center-left think tank and advocacy group Third Way, and Daniel Denver, journalist, host of the Jacobin podcast The Dig, and author of the book All American Nativism. His piece in The Nation that responds to Third Way and the Hasan Piker question generally is called Hasan Piker Threatens the Establishment. That's Why They Want to Destroy Him. Jonathan, Dan, thanks for engaging. Welcome to WNYC.
Thanks for having me.
Let's jump in with one of the Hasan Piker clips that often gets referenced in these discussions, this exchange from 2019 when he was a guest on Joe Rogan's podcast, along with Republican Congressman Dan Crenshaw, comes right at the top when Piker says America deserved 9/11. His context is what the U.S. had done in other countries.
This is so insane. America deserved 9/11, dude. F it. I'm saying it.
We're there to partner with them. We're not there doing our own thing. We're there partnering and training
in a video
and
game,
equipping and enhancing their capabilities. So that's part of what we're doing. And the other part is just knowledge. We want to know what's happening.
Like, we totally brought it on ourselves, dude. Holy shit. We did. We did in a video game.
So that was in 2019. I might have gotten the context slightly wrong. That might have been Piker just on his stream commenting on Daniel Crenshaw's appearance on Joe Rogan. But either way, Piker has since explained what he meant back in 2019.
The worst part about that is my voice. I have a baby voice on there, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
19, and that he didn't mean civilians ever deserve to be killed. For example, here he is speaking with Jon Favreau of Pod Save America just last week.
That was me responding to Daniel Crenshaw, ironically enough, on the Joe Rogan Experience, where he was making this ridiculous argument that, like, we have to go out and fight these people all the time because they hate us because they ain't us. And I was like, that's insane. That's not the reason. Like, and this was actually echoed by Robert Kagan, one of the godfathers of neoconservatism, just last week, where he came out and was like, yeah, actually, we have been messing around in the Middle East for, upwards of 60 years. And that's precisely the reason why 9/11 happened. And that's precisely the reason why these guys say death to America and Iran, for example. So, like, that was exactly the same sentiment that I've addressed a million times over. But of course, in this moment, it was a heated response, an impassioned response. And people will consistently use that against me over and over again. Some people hear that and they think, I understand exactly what's going on here. Some people hear that and go, how heinous. Oh, my stars and garters. I am clutching my pearls. I don't even want to learn what this is about. I don't want to understand what he's saying. His name is Hasan. He must be Al-Qaeda. I mean, and that's fine.
Hasan Piker last week. Here's one more from Piker last week on YouTube on the notion that he is anti-American, in which he might be heard to say, yes, he considers America to be bad in that clip. He starts by stating what people say to him.
You're just saying that because you hate America. You just hate America. You say America bad. You don't ever explain why, even though I do, right? And they never factor in or consider that I want America to be good. That's my advocacy. I want America to be good to its own people, to other countries. Wait, this is actually kind of awesome. Like, I'm kind of shocked that Brian Lehrer, or at least his team, and I assume there's some fucking HasanAbi heads in the production side. This is unbelievably good faith. It's actually shocking because no one ever brings this stuff up. No one ever brings this shit up. They only talk about like the notes that they can flip, the notes that they can actually bastardize. It's the equivalence of like Brian Lehrer being like, here is what social murder is, and this is what he was talking about, responding to why Gen Z is so responsive to Luigi Mangioni's alleged murder of Brian Thompson, the United Healthcare CEO. It's a unique experience to hear the full scope of my commentary. So respect to Brian Lehrer. Holy shit.
And one more in this set at Yale just last week on the fall of the Soviet Union at the end of the Cold War being horrible for the world because it enhanced U.S. power.
Lehrer is mostly pro-Israel. His 100-year-old parents are still alive and listening to the show, but he has integrity. The fall of the USSR was one of the greatest catastrophes of the 20th century. Just wait, listen, maybe you'll agree. Not only was there incalculable harm done to every single country under its banner, child prostitution, skyrocketing suicide rates, life expectancy plummeting, but America was no longer contested around the globe. And it is precisely because of the end to that multipolarity that we saw accelerated neoliberalism that is devastating every Western nation right now. Unlimited and unchecked greed.
So, with those clips as context, Jonathan, is any of that a reason, in your opinion, at Third Way, for Democratic presidential hopefuls and others in the party to not appear with Hasan Piker?
Yes. So, look, Brian, here's our bottom line. Hasan Piker is entitled to whatever views he wants to hold, however heinous, offensive, disgusting, anti-American, bigoted, misogynist, etc. And it's quite well established that he said plenty of things that qualify him just as I described. The question for Democrats is not whether Hasan Piker should have a show or even if they feel like going on his show and denouncing him. The question is, should Democrats across the board, including people who might run for president, House, Senate, etc., should they elevate Piker? Is that either morally or politically the smart and right thing to do? And I think morally it's clearly wrong. But as a political matter, Democrats are already seen too often as too extreme. Why would it make sense for Democrats to elevate someone this radical, this extreme, who's this much of a bigot and an anti-American? Why would you elevate them if you're trying to actually win back the White House, defeat the extremist in MAGA, and win majorities in the House and the Senate? It's actually insane, and no one has presented a shred of evidence that would make it make sense for Democrats to elevate Piker and his views.
Daniel, your reply.
Third Way was pro-Iraq war. I mean, but that was good.
Those particular clips, which, are about views of the United States.
Yeah, first.
Have you considered that was good? Parini, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Hype train level 1 achieved.
Into those specific clips, the big picture is that this is a ginned-up controversy. Third Way and their allies want to shut down Hasan Piker because, first and foremost, they want to protect a militaristic, far-right Israeli government that's committing genocide in Gaza and waging war against its neighbors alongside the Trump administration. And on top of that, they want to defend a Democratic establishment against a voter base that has moved dramatically leftward. The voter base of the Democratic Party opposes Third Way's pro-oligarchy, pro-Israel agenda. And to respond specifically to those points, the America Deserved 9/11 line, that was a stupid thing he said and apologized for. But what he was referencing, as he explained in those later clips you played, is that our leaders for years lied to Americans about the historical context of 9/11, pretending that 9/11 just happened in a vacuum, that the U.S. was just minding its own business. Don't get me wrong, it was a horrific mass murder of American civilians, but it did not happen in a vacuum. It would not have happened if the U.S. hadn't been for decades engaging in wars and interventions across the Middle East. Third Way and establishment Democrats who are committed to more foreign wars are doing the American people a disservice to them by lying about this history.
50.
In terms of the Soviet
Amy
Union,
Goodman.
It was one of the great catastrophes of the...
Amy Goodman's peace sign, thank you for the 50 bones. And Drew Bix, thank you for the 10 bones. And Ciara, thank you for the 5.
20th century when it collapsed. First of all, it led to a huge collapse in living standards across the Soviet Union. This is well documented by scholars. A huge drop in life expectancy, the rise of a criminal oligarchy that looted the country, the very kind of crony capitalist order imposed by the West that's played such a key role in making Vladimir Putin the dictator that he is today. And in terms of the lack of a counterbalance to U.S. power across the world, I mean, that's just common sense. Look at Southern Africa, where the Soviet Union and Cuba fought against the U.S. and apartheid South Africa, who were attempting to maintain colonialism in Namibia. And what happens when there's not a counterforce to U.S. power in the world? We have the Far East that, again, have played such a role in not only destabilizing the whole world, but here domestically in the U.S., making Donald Trump president. Donald Trump, the MAGA authoritarian fascist project, is an enormous danger to everyone in this country and everyone in the world. And Hasan is a rare progressive in an online space where young men are being converted to fascism by people like Andrew Tate and Nick Fuentes. He is on the front line of fighting fascism. And so when people like Third Way try to gin up fake controversies and make people like Hasan Piker toxic, it's backfiring. All it's doing is raising his profile, raising the profile of candidates like Abdul Sayed. But the problem, because it's good for the left, actually, these attacks, the problem with what he's doing is that he's giving cover to the rise of actual anti-Semitic fascists on the far right, like Nick Fuentes. And that's going to be Third Way's true legacy here.
I'll let you go around one more time on that first set of clips, and then I'm going to play.
Daniel Denver of The Dig is the one who is absolutely dumpstering Jonathan Cowan of Third Way on this Brian Lehrer show segment.
Another set that goes specifically to the charge of anti-Semitism. But Jonathan, you want to reply to anything Daniel was just saying?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Brian. So Daniel is wrong about literally every single point. First, let's get his facts, correct his facts. Third Way was opposed to the Iraq War, and we've been vociferously and publicly opposed to this war. So I would just say to all your listeners, take everything Daniel's saying with a pretty big grain of salt, because he opened up this session refusing to actually tell the truth about Third Way. Secondly, it is an embarrassment for not just Daniel, but the entire left that they're defending this anti-American bigot. Someone who's...
Why don't they see him the way I see him? As a truly repulsive, evil monster. I have tremendous disdain for the average person that has similar opinions to Hasan Piker. And if given the opportunity, I would yell at them too. I condemn everyone who's anti-Israel. I condemn every voter in the Democratic Party who actually thinks that we should have Medicare for all. I condemn them. Why are they not thinking about the interests of the oligarchs in the way that I'm paid to do? I'm a whiny baby. That's all it is. Can't refute a single fucking point, by the way. Just has to chirp over and over again out on numerous occasions. Very funny.
Talked about black people, gay people, Jews.
Again, bullshit. Yeah, I have talked about black people. I have talked about gay people. I have talked about Jewish people, defending all of these groups. Okay? Third Way, on the other hand, literally is the Democratic Party's footprint that they designed to lean into reactionary sentiment. Okay? Just don't worry about, all these social issues. As long as we're still defending corporations, we're good. That is genuinely their attitude, their message. I oppose them. Okay? I oppose the Democratic Party that also leans into this kind of reactionary framework. It is bad politics and it's bad policy.
I mean, I could go on down the list in the most offensive, outrageous terms. Let me just cite a couple of quick stats. A recent poll by Echelon Insights found two facts.
Yeah, right-wing pollster, by the way.
To completely blow away Daniel's case. First, they tested a whole bunch of figures, Trump and Democrats and lots of people, long list of people. The only three people in their list whose unfavorables were double their favorables were Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, two right-wing lunatics, and Hasan Piker. So
wait, that literally polled AIPAC as being less favorable than me, an institution that you don't have any issues with, an institution that reflects your values, and AOC as well, as a matter of fact. But he won't mention that because that would give the game away that, of course, they're polling right-wingers and Republicans who, of course, are not going to have a fucking favorable opinion of me.
So he is anything but popular in the country. Second is, they asked Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents, do you think the party should move more towards the center or move more towards the left, or it's great where it is?
Yeah, they also asked, do you think the Democrats should be Democratic Socialists? And 68% said yes in a different push poll. So, you pick and choose what you like out of that poll.
42% said
perhaps a lot of people actually look at democratic socialism and think, oh, that's like Zoran, that's moderate, that's the moderate position, that's like Bernie, the moderate position. Perhaps move to the center from their perspective is, cut it out with this silly stuff. Cut it out with this, elite liberalism and get to class politics, right? Because from their perspective, from the perspective of the average voter, they don't look at the issues in the same way that Third Way analyzes it. That much is very clear. A lot of people think Bernie is more moderate, just like they thought Trump was more moderate than the average Republican. Because from their perspective, they're like, yeah, it makes sense. Why can't we have free college? Why can't we have fucking free healthcare? What are you talking about? That's the moderate position, right? Like it seems that a lot of people actually look at moving to the moderate position, moving towards the center, a more normal expression of politics as like, people who put class first, people who put working class first in their messaging and also in their agenda.
Democrats should move to the center. Only 24% held Daniel's view that it should move more to the left. And if they'd said, do you think they should move to the radical left, that percentage would have been
the average person thinks the radical left is Kamala Harris. They think the radical left is when you say stuff like, when you're associated with like the most extreme version of like quite normal policy in real life, that oftentimes is not discussed. But when you're only defined by those positions, then Kamala Harris is seen as a black woman from California who only wants to do bottom surgeries for Guatemalan immigrants in American detention facilities that happen to be transgender, and also nothing else, or maybe at most $50,000 in tax credits for small business owners in underserved neighborhoods. So clearly, from their perspective, and a lethal military and endless militism and the like. So from their perspective, they consider that to be fucking radical. If you were to say, hey, we're actually doing Medicare for all, that's what I'm running on, that's what I want to do, people look at that and go, oh, that's not radical. And in the same process, if you turn around and say, yeah, we should stop being weird about trans people, you should let trans people live, it's a decision that they should make between themselves and their healthcare professionals, like Graham Plattner is doing, for example, all of a sudden, people go, yeah, hell yeah, that's actually exactly what I want to fucking hear. That's exactly the type of commentary that I want to hear. Not this fucking bullshit, the third way neoliberalism.
Even less.
Right.
It is strategically obvious that if Democrats want to win over the middle of the country, they cannot elevate figures like Hasan Piker, who are so radical and so extreme that they will drive away all of the voters we need to beat MAGA and Trump.
Daniel, your reply.
The DNC found in a still secret autopsy of the 2024 election that was reported by Axios that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's support for Israel's genocide in Gaza played a substantial role in her losing the election. 63% of Americans now say there was no reason to go to war in Iran. A majority of Americans' sympathies, according to a Gallup 2026 poll from earlier this year, February, they sympathize with Palestine over the Palestinians over Israeli. Amongst Democrats, that's 65% that sympathize with Palestinians over Israelis, compared to 17% that sympathize more with Israelis. This is not about some abstract call that Democrats should go out there and say, hi, I'm left wing now. It's a call to embrace causes and issues that are popular among Democratic voters. This is support for an end to these forever wars. 84% of Americans say the rich have too much political power. That's 96% of Democrats. These are the sorts of positions that the left is arguing Democrats should take. Those are the sorts of positions that Hasan is popularizing on his stream. And these are the sorts of positions that will allow Democrats to not only be a authoritarian threat, but actually address its root causes, which is decades of bipartisan disaster created by establishment Democrats alongside Republicans. Establishment Democrats that, whatever Third Way's official positions on these matters are, have gotten us into forever wars, have put us in a situation where we have an oligarchy running this country, presiding over historic wealth and inequality, an oligarchy whose political expression is now MAGA authoritarianism. And that is exactly what Third Way is arguing for. And it's dangerous because we are living in a very dangerous moment right now as a result of it.
Let's go next to the specific charge that Democratic politicians should shun Hasan Piker. And just for a little more context, for those of you just joining us, as I mentioned at the top, presidential hopefuls who say they would appear with Hasan Piker include Gavin Newsom and...
I'm not going to lie. When Andrew Cuomo decided to use this as a line of attack against Zohran Mamdani, who is now the mayor, so it demonstrably failed, I genuinely did not think that this would elevate to mainstream discourse to this degree, and it would be repeated so much. I did not think that. I don't have such a high opinion of myself. I don't think that I have this level of power or prominence. So it's been an unbelievable thing to experience. Very, very strange. Very fucking strange that this is the discourse that they're running with over and over and over again. But yeah, thank you for thinking of me in this way, I guess.
Hannah and Rahm Emanuel. On the no side is Cory Booker, for example. And let's go next to the charge that Democratic politicians should shun Piker because he's not just a critic of Israel, he's anti-Semitic and supports Hamas. Here's a clip of him from shortly after the October 7th, 2023 attack. In fairness, this will sound to a lot of people more like he's explaining Hamas than defending them, but his language about Israel.
Brian. Brian literally goes, yeah, it's actually analysis, but make sure you understand that he's actually bad and defending Hamas. Okay, yeah, sure. All right. Hey, guys, I just want to make sure that you understand he's a bad guy, okay? He's a bad guy before I play this because he's going to make too much sense.
And whoever he's addressing here is very tough, including expletives that we bleeped out.
Do you think the Israeli state was just like peacefully coexisting, and then these guys came in with gliders out of nowhere? Don't say off, dude. They didn't deserve it, you idiot. My goal is solutions. Your goal is the continuation of violence. You want way more than 260 people dying. You want every single Palestinian to be executed ruthlessly in the streets so that you can build another theme park in Gaza. You baying pig. You bloodthirsty, violent pig dog.
That was from shortly after October 7th.
I cooked. Left no crumbs. I'll be honest. I think it was what's her name? It was Kylie Chung who said Hasan is the Gagatron 9000. I don't know if she deleted it or not. Yeah, she said not about this take, but she said he's Loki the Gagatron 9000 and they're trying to kill him for it.
For example, is this from 2024, where he reacts to a newscast on an Israeli court ruling that ultra-Orthodox students must be drafted to the military. That report came out in June 2024.
The ultra-Orthodox Jews leaving Israel, fucking hilarious. Okay? If they serve in the military and then they get the inbred asses shipped into southern Lebanon, again, very funny.
So calling the ultra-Orthodox inbred is what's gotten attention and criticism there. And one more in this set. This is a post on X that Piker penned on January 9th of this year in response to a protest outside a Queens synagogue where protesters chanted, "Say it loud, say it clear, we support Hamas here." His post on X reads, quote, "As a lesser evil voter, I will once again repeat my harm reductionist credo. Hamas is 1,000 times better than the fascist settler colonial apartheid state, and the real harm happening here is..."
Your boos mean nothing when I've heard what makes you cheer. Or rather, they're calling me a lot of names, but they're not calling me a liar.
That another illegal stolen land sale is taking place at another synagogue, unquote, from Piker on X. So Daniel, you'll get the first question this round. Are those things okay with you? And should people like Gavin Newsom and Ro Khanna and Rahm Emanuel be saying yes to appearing with Hasan Piker after he seems to say there that Hamas is 1,000 times better than Israel?
The smearing of critics of Israel as anti-Semitic is bad faith, it's wrong, and it doesn't work anymore. Allies of Third Way last year tried the same thing against Zohran Mamdani, and he handily won the mayoral election. The movement against the genocide in this country, the movement for Palestinian liberation, is not only not anti-Semitic, it is substantially Jewish. My Jewish mother-in-law is listening right now from Brooklyn. The JVP, Jewish Voice for Peace, is one of the leading organizations in the pro-Palestine movement in this country. It is absurd gaslighting to call the left, which believes in universal principles of human life, the equal value of human life everywhere in this world, anti-Semitic. In terms of Hamas, I strongly oppose violence against civilians everywhere at any point, including on October 7th. But what this entire discourse serves to obscure is the fact that since October 7th and since the foundation of the State of Israel in 1948 with the Nakba, the catastrophe that displaced hundreds of thousands of Palestinians permanently from their homes. The vast majority, the overwhelming majority of civilians killed have been Palestinian. And it is right and just to criticize Hamas for killing civilians on October 7th. But this demonization that somehow Hamas is of a different order of magnitude more evil than the state of Israel, all it seeks to do is obscure the history that scholars have written a lot of very interesting books about, of why there's armed resistance in Palestine and why there's always armed resistance under a military occupation. So, the left is taking a position here that is in line with Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, the Israeli human rights organization B'Tselem, the International Association of Genocide Scholars, that Israel has committed genocide in Gaza. And I wonder if Jonathan would agree with that assessment, or if he will continue to believe.
Oh, this is where he fucking cuts straight to the chase. Okay? This is where he cuts straight to the chase. He goes, Jonathan, do you agree with the assessment of virtually every international humanitarian organization?
That Israel should be able to act as it wishes towards the Palestinians. There is one way to stop the crimes that Israel is committing in the Middle East, and that is a full arms embargo on that country. We cannot give more weapons to a country that is murdering Palestinians and committing murder in Lebanon and dragging the U.S. into another disastrous war in Iran. And everything that Jonathan is arguing here is just an attempt to obscure that debate. And that is a debate that the vast majority of Democratic voters agree with the left on. Sure. That Palestinian liberation is important, that they be complicit in genocide. And this anti-Semitism thing, it is just absurd, it is offensive, and it is backfiring, and it is actually weakening the very moral urgency of combating actual anti-Semitism that we are seeing emerge from literal Nazis on the far right, like Nick Fuentes, that Jonathan and his buddies are giving cover to. It's really shameful and gross, frankly.
Just so you react to the other instance that I cited, calling the ultra-Orthodox inbred.
Oh,
does
he's
that strike you as anti-Semitic?
No, it doesn't strike me as anti-Semitic. It strikes me as rude and not the sort of language I've used. But there's documented evidence of Hasan calling dozens of far-right individuals, most of them Americans, inbred. It's an insult he uses for far-right people. I wouldn't use it, but it has nothing to do with Jews, and it's
just a little bit of context, and look at the convo, dude. Just a little bit of context. All of a sudden, when someone is equipped with the knowledge, when they know that it's like something that I have regularly utilized to talk about any kind of like supremacist movement, or all of a sudden everybody goes, oh, wait a minute.
Incredibly disingenuous, the fake controversy, pretending that it does.
Jonathan, your response.
Look, it's really embarrassing for Daniel and everyone on the left that once again they keep defending for and apologizing for a laundry list.
He can't do anything but pearl clutch. Oh my God, this is his argument. His argument is, he's bad though. He's bad. Even Brian Lehrer is like at least doing the decent thing and showing the context to foster a more productive conversation. I cannot believe that this was the argument. There's an exchange here, which is almost literally Dan going, do you support genocide? Third guy. The question is just a smokescreen to distract from the real issues Democrats care about, which is whether or not candidates should appear on Hasan Piker's Twitch stream. Unfucking believable, dude.
Of things that Piker says that are bigoted, anti-American, anti-Semitic, misogynistic, anti-black. I mean, why is the left defending all of these horrible things that he says and apologizing?
Can you respond to anything I said, Jonathan?
As if
let
him go. You'll get another round each.
As if you
go ahead,
can't
Jonathan.
have a legitimate debate about U.S. foreign policy. But that debate...
Yeah, we can't have a legitimate debate about U.S. foreign policy because whenever someone has an opinion that you don't agree with, you immediately hit him with a fucking word salad barrage of like, he actually doesn't want to have a legitimate debate about foreign policy. He's actually anti-black somehow. Like, that's the whole point. You are the one who is rendering legitimate debate American foreign policy unhabitable. It's just like it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen because of you. You have rendered this discourse into nothingness. Constant fucking shit smearing. You're doing it right now.
It somehow can't be separated out from this misogynistic, anti-American. It's a pathetic position the left has put themselves in. Secondly is, let's just, we got to slow down on these things. I mean, if Hasan Piker had described any other group as he said, which is, I'm quoting him, you are left with a country that is packed to the effing gills with the most inbred, uneducated, ultranationalist, rabid population. If he said that.
It's true. It's true. It's literally Israel's future. Brother, that is the design you have for Israel. You want Israel to be this like this shining beacon of light and prosperity. By the way, that's also the same for America too, but you know, that's a totally separate conversation. But like that is literally what you are fucking saying you want Israel to turn into. And I have said that about many other countries as well. Any country that revolves around purity, genetic purity politics will eventually become an inbred country. That's how genetic purity works. White supremacy also works in the same fashion. So when white supremacists talk about, you know, genetic purity and how all these other ethnicities are actually impure or inferior, that's the same exact argument. You know, white supremacist Americans as well. That's why I call them fucking inbred.
About any other group in the world or in the United States, we wouldn't be having this conversation. He would be completely shunned. So it's very blatantly anti-Semitic that Daniel says, oh, I don't like the language, except if it were said about any other group, he would openly denounce it.
Just to quickly follow up, you heard what he said about how Piker applies that to people on the right as a sort of general insult, that it wasn't particularly singling out Jews?
I know, but here's the thing.
No, Brian is cooking the third way. Oh my God.
Every single thing that Piker says, for example, you started us off with America deserved 9/11, dude. I didn't hear in your thing an apology for that, in which Piker said, that is disgusting, I said it. It is, I should never have said that 3,000 Americans deserve.
Yeah, this is also unbelievably smarmy and whiny. It's not.
Kitty, you better not be dead. If someone hits you with their car, I'll chop off their head.
This is so dumb. You guys are so stupid for this. Okay, it's so funny because they're going to be like, we're only a couple steps away from Jonathan Cowan of Third Way being like, he's promoting moral degeneracy by being transgender. Have you seen his transsexual behavior? Wearing a sexy maid's outfit? Do you know how horny that got me? He is a freak. Throw him in jail.
Fucking right. I'll shoot their ass, kitty. I'll put it down for your ass. You got me feeling shitty.
He's promoting femboyism. I don't know why I'm turning into Mark Levin here.
Deserve to be killed. That is wrong. I'm ashamed. I will never say anything like that again. He didn't say anything. He doesn't apologize for it. Again, if someone says one or two things in their career that are profoundly offensive and disgusting, maybe. Every single week, week in and week out, he says the same thing. He says, I will quote you on this. I will quote him. If you have these effing millionaire, billionaire WASP sons, at least taking them out of other colleges so they can only do date rape to other millionaire, billionaire failed daughters is like, in some respects, you know, from a telling perspective, a little better. So here is a guy who is explaining away and justifying date rape because it occurs between people who are very wealthy, who he can.
Dog, you, oh my God. Again, why are you defending Liberty University? You are defending Liberty University, okay? That's what you're doing. You're defending a university who literally straight up marketed not prosecuting date rape that takes place on their fucking college campus. And I'm saying, look, if these guys are going to be cordoned off to a place where it's self-selecting, then yeah, it's better off that they do that. None of this, ironically, when he fucking reads the quote, also suggests what he's trying to say.
Consider spoiled. He says, I quote, I don't give an F what black people care about, end quote. I could go on and...
Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't give an F what black people care about. Bitch, once again, that's literally some epistemology to claim that all black people actually hate immigrants. It's bullshit, okay? Do you actually feel like that's a decent quote? Are you fucking dumb? I like that this guy went, clearly, Hasan has never cared about the opinion of any black person, ever, from the beginning of time until now. Unbelievably disingenuous. All right,
on and on and on. This is not a debate about U.S. foreign policy. This is a question of whether Democrats who want to win over the middle of the country should align themselves and elevate a guy who is this anti-American, misogynistic, and offensive. That's the only relevant question. Everything else is a smokescreen.
Let me play one more clip, the one you just referenced, something that Hasan Piker said about black people and, in political context, and then you'll go around one more time, and then we're out of time. This is on his alleged racism, or at least dismissing the concerns of black Americans as just a cover for reactionary politics. This is from 2024.
Like it or not, black people care about the border. Man, shut the up. Black people care about the border. I don't give a what black people care about. The Democratic Party literally is going to lose, even if they don't lose, move the country to a significantly more right-wing position. Oh, black people care about this, black people care about that. Like, shut the up. That's not how politics works. I hate that. I hate this, shield, okay? I like that they actually put more of the fucking clip in context, by the way. This person goes, black people care about the border.
So, Daniel, I don't give an F what black people care about is the quote that jumps out from that longer thing.
Yeah,
wait.
But it's not what the actual segment's about. The actual segment's about.
So let me just set up that we have a limited amount of time left. Take about a minute to address that and to go back at Jonathan for his last answer, then him, and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's absurd to claim that clip is Hasan saying he doesn't care what black people think. The segment is critiquing establishment Democrats for inventing a monolithic black person's opinion to argue against the left. That's what's going on there. Hasan has had, I mean, the thing about this and this whole ginned up controversy invented by Third Way and their allies is that it depends upon the idea that the American public, and specifically the base of the Democratic Party, is stupid. But they can listen to that clip and understand that Hasan is in no way saying that. It's absurd to say that he's saying that black people's opinions don't matter. It's equally absurd to say that Hasan supports date rape. What he's critiquing there, what he's mocking there, because it's a humorous podcast, Twitch stream, that's why people listen to it. What he's critiquing there, what he's mocking, is the WASP elite, which, think back to Brett Kavanaugh, is full of the normalization of preppy, rich, white guys date raping people. He is critiquing that. And again, he is critiquing that in a space, in an online space where actual far-right Nazi misogynists are recruiting young men every day, and he is in the trenches fighting that, bringing them over to a humanistic, universalist, anti-racist, feminist politics. That is what Hasan is doing, and undermining Hasan is doing nothing but elevating and empowering the far right. And I'm really curious, with all of this ginned up controversy that Jonathan is putting out there, if Jonathan thinks that U.S. intervention across the Middle East had anything to do with creating the context that led to the horrific murder of American civilians on 9/11. I'm curious if Jonathan supports an arms embargo on Israel, if he, like the vast majority of Democratic voters, opposes Israel's genocide in Gaza, and if Jonathan recognizes that Israel is indeed committing genocide in Gaza, because I bet the answer is no.
Jonathan, do answer his direct question and say anything else you want in our last minute, and that'll be the last word.
Daniel and his allies continue to try to make this debate about something other than what it is. It's a smokescreen to cover up for the singular question that matters to Democrats, which is, should you elevate Hasan Piker and his views? I'd like to actually give the last words to Hasan Piker, quote, America is truly the Fourth Reich with nukes, end quote. Quote, F this refugee, okay? F this South Vietnamese emming.
Oh my God, he literally said I thought that was an exaggeration. I thought it was an exaggeration where Daniel goes, hey, you're the head of a prominent think tank that wants to teach the Democrats how to message on issues and what the Democrats should care about. And so it's totally understandable to ask whether or not you think Israel's committed a genocide. And he went, no, that's not the real issue. The real issue is Hasan Piker.
Refugee living in America. Why don't you go back and live in effing South Vietnam? About property owners. Kill them. Kill those mother effers and murder those mother effers in the street. Let the streets soak in their effing red capitalist blood, dude. Lastly, between Vance and Newsom.
In a video game. Didn't mention the video game part. It's fucked up.
Quote, I'd probably vote third party at that point. It doesn't even matter. Go on. Keep defending this guy and apologizing for him and lose all of your moral credibility if that's what you choose to do. But as a matter of strategy for Democrats, aligning with someone this anti-American and this repugnant, misogynistic, and bigoted, there is not a shred of evidence that would be helpful for Democrats for beating the MAGA right and expanding their majorities.
Do give him the courtesy of a reply to his direct question.
What direct question?
Do you acknowledge that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, or do you deny it?
Do you acknowledge that Hasan Piker is a bigoted, anti-Semitic, misogynist?
There's the answer. You support Israel's genocide
and
in Gaza.
There's the
You've
answer.
discredited yourself before the world and before the Democratic primary.
And there is your answer, which is
Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, B'Tselem, the International Association of Genocide Scholars, and you support the mass murder of people with U.S. weapons. That's really...
By the way, this literally is the cheat code because all of my biggest naysayers, and they might find someone who'll be like, actually, I do think that Israel's committing a genocide, but we should still talk about Hasan. Like, eventually they'll get there. But for the time being, it's the number one cheat code. Just be like, oh, what's your thoughts on Israel? Do you think America should continue giving? Do you believe in an arms embargo? If the answer is yes, if you believe Israel's committed a genocide, do you believe in an arms embargo and punishments for the Israeli state for committing a genocide? Ask that question. They will never be able to answer that. That's it. Even if you find someone who goes, yeah, I think Israel has committed a genocide, but let's talk about Hasan. Turn around and go, okay, if Israel's committed a genocide, do you believe in an arms embargo to Israel and punishments for the Israeli state for doing a genocide? This normally shouldn't be a fucking cheat code. But the reason why it is because all the people that are chirping at me are not chirping at me because they've been long-term watchers and are genuinely frustrated with like what they've seen of my commentary. That's bullshit. They saw a bunch of clips out of context that they could use and weaponize against me because they're using me as a stand-in for the Israel conversation. They want to put an embargo on me before putting an arms embargo on fucking Israel.
To the end of our time and you talking over each other, we will leave it there without settling the conversation about Hasan Piker's place in the Democratic Party or in relation to Democratic Party politicians. But listeners now, hopefully, maybe you're more informed about multiple points of view on that. We thank Daniel Denver, journalist, host of the Jacobin podcast, The Dig, and author of the book All American Nativism is Peace in the Nation, that responds to our other guest is called Hasan Piker Threatens the Establishment. That's why they want to destroy him. Jonathan Cowan, who's been our other guest, is co-founder.
Oh my God, that was amazing. Daniel fucking Cook, dude. What an incredible, thorough way to dismantle these cynical genocide dares, these fucking charlatans. Fox News is going to be covering my commentary in the same way all day today.